my other teacher.
Mm.
Who I share an office with. But I think I'm gonna be in that office more than he is. At least in the afternoons. I even had like a student today, an older student, because it's a community college, who was like, super into like seeing when my schedule is so that she can like come in and do like, I keep wanting to call them inductions. I don't think that's investment. That's what it's called.
Investment.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
So investment, I learned this last week. Investment is when, have you ever seen like, they make like wax molds for like the metal class, because this is what the classroom is. They make like wax stuff, and then they have to like put it into like a kiln and like make a mold out of it with investment powder, I think. So like, I
haven't seen that exactly, but I have seen molds been made in YouTube videos.
Yes, that's how I learned it too. I'm pretty sure that's what I told my other teacher.
Shout out to Evan and Caitlin. They're fun.
I just like, especially, I'm so bad at this either during like, I think I've said it, I do it at D&D sometimes, or if I'm like at work and I don't want to put my AirPods in, I'll just scroll Instagram because I can do it quietly. Because, like, you can't watch TikTok without the sound off. But you can watch Instagram. In most of the time.
You can be on Instagram, yeah.
Yeah. So, like...
Me, today, rereading our RPs.
I was doing that, too!
You saw me pin stuff?
Yeah. Though I was rereading, Horror Septics again. Because one of the replies, I wrote down that I was cringing at surgical scissors, and I was like, I don't even know if Norse Art used those. Let me go read and see, and then next thing I know, it's 2 hours later, and I've read all the Horror Septics again.
It's a really good wump.
It really is. I like it.
It's also it's pretty horrifying.
Yeah,
but that's good. Awesome. That's the point.
Yeah, so it's like if people who were like, I did this while I was like waiting at my other job, so I'm like sitting around. No one came in to pay today, but like, people ask questions, you know, especially if I had the door open. Mm-hmm. Even though I didn't want to because I didn't take my allergy medicine today.
Nah.
But I just thought it was so funny that people are coming and I'm just like reading this fanfiction just completely like stone-faced, and I'm reading my character get brutally tortured, and then I have to like put it down and be like, hi, welcome to blah! How are you doing today?
Hi! How you doing?
And they're like, how much does it cost to pay? And I'm like, oh, $25. Oh, okay. Have a good night. You too! Fanfiction.
If anyone looked over your shoulder.
Where was I? Ah, yes, Alt screamed in agony as
yeah.
And I'm like, yes, good, but I like on my face I'm just like listening to the cool lo-fi I have on in the background. Yeah, because I have this playlist.
Lo-fi beats to torture your blorbo to.
I was about to say, I have this lo-fi playlist I play like every day at work, and I might need to go find a new one because it's starting to get old. But it's supposed to be like 15 hours, so I don't know why I keep getting the same ones. Probably because Spotify is fucking... What's it called?
Sucky?
It's sucky. The shuffling.
The shuffling is not... I figured out that, I like, in comparison to, like, how shuffling songs worked on my iPod when I used that regularly, it would often, like, give me whatever. Yeah. And then, like, when I shuffle a playlist on Spotify, it gives me the same things I listened to, like, recently.
Yeah, exactly. It seems to only shuffle the stuff that you've already listened to.
Yeah,
like,
and
that's not how shuffling works.
I think what they do, I think they prioritize, like, songs that you've listened to more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but then if you keep putting the same one, and
exactly, self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, I don't know for sure if that's how it works, but that's my guess.
I mean, it makes sense logically.
I don't know if this is true or like a placebo effect, but I think that if you like start in the middle of the playlist instead of at the beginning, something is different.
Probably, because I also listen to Smart Shuffle sometimes, because I love my music, but I need to branch out more. But, like, and Smart Shuffle's nice because it gives me songs that is close to what I listen to, but not quite. So, like, I've been finding a lot of really good music that way. Like, I found a song that was really, like, Despair Alita recently. That's called Not When the Darkness Comes, but I think it's by Static P. What was it called? I don't know, it was really good, though.
Someone at work today was listening to a song that was that's had, like, a sort of intense name like that. It was, like, Darkness Inside or something like that. And I looked at the computer screen, like, because they were playing it over the, like, lobby speakers. And I'm like, ooh, what is this? It's nice and chill. What is this?
Yeah. I went to go look at my queue, and I have right now on when I was listening at home, it was Rule 34 by Fish in a Birdcage, which is that song that's like, right now you're mine, oh my. It's like, I want to do something with that because it's very magnificent. But then the next one I have up next is called Stalker's Tango. I'm like, what? I don't know that. I just want to listen to see what I've listened to recently. How do I do that?
I don't think you can. Not on
Probably.
Spotify, at least. You couldn't even do that on the iPod.
That's true. I also have this thing where I'm listening on in my dad's car, and for some reason, when if I find a song that I like on my iPad, or on there, and I go to add it, because there's a nice little add button, like adding it to my playlist, like, oh yay, I want to listen to this again. It adds it twice. Anyway, the song that I was thinking about was called Entertaining, which by Holla GC is very good. And then underneath it is exactly the song I was thinking of, When Darkness Comes by Static P.
Yippee.
Static P. Imagine if your P was static. That'd be painful. What a great way to start. I need to post on socials.
Is Static P a Vocaloid thing? Because I know that there's like Creepy and Circus P. For some reason, that's a Vocaloid trend.
Yes.
I don't think Circus P does, or Creepy. One of them doesn't do Vocaloid songs anymore. I think they still do music, but they like sing. Yeah. I don't remember which one. The other one is still.
I don't know. Because When Darkness Comes definitely doesn't seem like a Vocaloid song. Which I can talk with. But I also love Vocaloid, so it's just fine either way.
It's interesting how Vocaloid songs somehow manage to be the most blurbo songs.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they're made by independent people who, like, more often than not, have a story in mind.
Mm-hmm. They're creatives like us.
Yeah.
That reminds me, so, like, I was learning, like, what my new job is, right? And I was talking with, one of the supervisors yesterday, and I'm like, so am I, like, to allow, it kind of just seems like I'm supposed to, like, make myself, like, sparse. Like, you know, like, not sparse, but, like, make myself available, which I'm totally cool with.
Yeah, you kind of float around.
I kind of float around until something is needed, which I'm totally cool with as long as I can do, like, my own thing. I'm a writer, technically. So, like, I would love to work on my stories while I'm here. Well, they know it's
fan fiction.
I could do so much writing though at work. Like, it's the
dude.
Like, my office is like so perfectly quiet. I could do so much.
The stuff we write together at this point, it's like, is it even fan fiction?
Yeah.
Or are we just writing about different flavors of original characters?
That's what it feels like. That's why I love it.
Yeah. There's just something very special about how the egos in particular. I wouldn't be able to do this with any other characters, I think. I think there's a reason why I took off with, like, ego stuff, even though I tried to do writing for other fandoms.
Yeah, I think for me, it's always been like, because I think I've explained this in Sparky before. It's always like, they were such, like, there's like that established like character thing, like, you know, there's enough character there for you to establish like the start of a character, but from there it's a lot of building up your own stuff, and it's kind of like a mold, you know, like.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like you have like a really good base to start off of, but you can really start to customize it from there and make it your own, and like throw lots of stuff at the wall, see what sticks, and then you get more canon that you could like either fit in the right place or like mess around with, and that's always been super fun to me. Because like the second we get new comic stuff, I'm like, okay, how can I apply this to Alton, bro?
Exactly. The moment Iris was revealed, I was like, how does this work in the Switch AU?
Yeah, exactly. Alright, we're just...
It's so weird. I was just thinking, like, the Jacksepticeye fandom, like, and also Markiplier fandom to a certain extent, they're just, like, so special in, like, how customizable they are, if that makes sense. And also, I love how present mind control is in both of them. Like, I feel like the idea, like, when the fandoms were at their peak, there were so many fics about, like, this character gets possessed, or mind controlled, to the point where, like, the term puppeted is, like, so ubiquitous with the Jacksepticeye fandom. It's very fascinating. I would write a video.
So much.
I would write a video essay about it. Except it's not really an essay because I'm not proving anything.
It's just like
I'd write a video.
It's a fascinating phenomenon.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one that not a lot of people know about because it's so niche.
Yeah. Alright, for some reason my VTuber isn't connecting. Love that for me. Why not? Okay, error code, only one usage of each socket address is normally permitted. Put that into Google.
Do you have it open somewhere else?
Possibly. Only one usage of each socket address, yes. This is for V Bridger. Help.
Hey chat, guess what phase I'm getting back into? No one's here, so they can't actually answer. Anyway, go play Master Detective Archives Raincoat!
Oh, we're back on this again!
We're back on this! It's circled around, baby! And I went through Danganronpa back to Raincoat.
You know what? I respect it. I don't want you to think that I was sitting here like, no, not again. Because definitely not.
Yeah. Anyway. Thinking about it, I genuinely think that, like, because I've seen, like, I watched a series of video essays about, the Danganronpa videos. I watched a couple video essays about the Danganronpa videos, and I genuinely think that, like, the writing of Raincoat has, like, massively improved.
Yeah.
And people will say it hasn't. I've seen people who are like, oh, it's just more Danganronpa shit, and I'm like, first of all, at this point, it's not Danganronpa shit, because it's no longer Danganronpa. It's freaking whoever his name is. I can't remember. The creators. It's his shit at this point. And, like, second of all, like, you cannot compare... You cannot compare, like... There's a noticeable difference in writing between even just the 3 Danganronpa games.
Right.
They all improve massively, and I think Raincoat is also another massive step forward. And also, did you know that apparently there's another game out by that guy, for the creator? Whose name I don't remember. And when it's fully released, because it's in demo stage right now. When the game is fully released, it's gonna have 100 endings.
Whoa.
It's called like the 100 line, I think. I've seen someone posting about it on Tumblr. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Anyway, yeah. Fun fact, little fun fact there. New game coming out. I don't even know. I think I'm just rambling. I don't think I have a point to make. I had a point and then I lost it.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's
Right. Yeah, the writing is significantly better. Like, honestly, like, you know how like Danganronpa has like a third case syndrome where the middle case is like not as good.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that like the third cases in Danganronpa are all like, they're like bad. They're different levels of bad, and like I can tolerate some more than others. But I do think they're all bad from like a writing mystery perspective.
Right.
The main problem with like I think Renko does have a third case syndrome as well, even though it's technically the fourth case. Never mind. There's a prologue. But the point is that like even the weakest case in that case, like the main problem is that it's too obvious, if that makes sense. Like once you find like one clue, you're able to like figure out what happened, but like you're still able to piece everything together like around that, if that makes sense. And I feel like the motives of the culprit in that case make a lot more sense than the motives of any of the Danganronpa Case 3 characters. Like, freaking, I know that like Celeste wanted to like live in a castle or whatever. And like there's a secret theory that she was like, oh, actually I'm giving in to despair. And I'm like, why did you need an accomplice for that?
Yeah.
This is what gets me about the first case. This is like, why does she need an accomplice? She didn't have to. She could have done all that by herself.
I mean, I think it's kind of, I don't know. It always felt like she was like, one of those people that didn't want to get her hands dirty.
But then she did. She killed him.
True.
It doesn't make sense. And I can make more sense out of the third case murder for V3 than I can for why Celeste needs an accomplice.
Okay, apparently my Steam isn't working, which is why Bieber isn't working, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, weird. Please don't make me restart my computer. I don't wanna.
You can just do a little, you can just do the PNG Tuber, maybe.
If I can find the file. I'm not sure where the file is now.
You lost. Oh.
I'm so
that would be a problem.
I'm so used to my VTuber. Well, I spent way too long on this VTuber to not use it.
I mean, you did spend a lot of time on it. It looks really good. I do like. It's very cute.
Thank you.
Very expressive. The amount of VTubers I see that are just like anime person, and I'm like, cool. It doesn't look like you're talking though. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I think there aren't many VTubers that can capture expressions the way yours can.
Oh, good. Now Steam's running. Okay, cool.
Yippee.
What part of me, every now and again, I get like brain worms that are like, you should redraw your VTuber. You can do it again better. And I'm like,
oh no.
God, no. Please no.
Back, foul beast.
Please. And maybe one of these days, but not anytime soon.
No, you need more free time on your hands.
I really do. The only time the only reason I worked on my VTuber was because I just lost my job. That was the only reason she's around. God, it's been... No, when did I?
She was around since, like, the beginning of Ace Attorney, I think.
Yeah, I think it's been a year now.
Yeah. Wait, I can't believe we've been doing Ace Attorney for a year.
Yeah.
For longer than a year, I think.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I lost my other job when it was March something, I think, of last year. It feels like I've had my VTuber for longer. Maybe it was, I don't think has been 2 years. Has it been 2 years?
Stream viewers, I don't know if anyone's like here, but if you are, and you know how long Huffle's had a VTuber, then inform us.
Yeah, let us know.
'Cause I know she wasn't there for Amori, but she was
she
there
definitely
for
was
Ace. Yeah.
I also love. I also got my VTuber working now, so we're up. But
Yay!
I love how we always like it's not just us, but like also like tons of other people refer to their VTuber as a separate like entity almost. Like, you know, it's not you, but she.
Yeah, I was doing it because you were, but like the minute I started doing it, I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I am going to
Loud
assume we have some
freaking sound.
lurkers.
I think we have at least one.
At least one. Totally fine if you are. We love our lurkers here.
Yeah. Huffle, can you send me the magma link?
Yeah, let me send it in chat too.
I'm sitting on like the least. Hang on a sec, on a sneeze.
Bless you.
I'm sitting on like the least helpful surface for for like drawing at all.
I'm like, oh, I wish I could draw. I'm like, you can't read and draw at the same time. It's like, also, not me. If I wanted to draw, I had plenty of time to draw earlier. But I didn't. I read stuff on my phone instead.
Alright, we gotta make a new canvas, I think. How do I do that?
There should be other ones around. They should just be at the bottom.
At the bottom. Oh yeah, right. I forget. I can't see anything. Okay, new drawing 2.
Yes.
This magma is definitely designed for.
It's definitely
tablets.
designed for tablets. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also not designed to be used with a mouse.
Probably not.
No, but I'm too lazy to go get my tablet.
My dog has abandoned me, so let me go close my door.
Oh, but I have a cat. Hello.
I heard a jiggling.
Yeah, it's my sister's cat. She brought her home because she's home now.
Sugar.
Her name is. Yes.
Yeah!
Yes. She's here now. She was just hiding under
I
the
know
bed.
all
Maybe
about
I
your
woke her
cats.
up.
You have Apollo and Honey at home. Sugar's AJ's?
Yes.
And
Sugar
then
is AJ's.
Hamlet is CJ's.
OJ's, yeah.
OJ's. You're CJ. Technically. Not really. No. Yeah.
Technically, Sugar was our cat before any of the others. But when AJ went to college, she was like, I need an emotional support animal, so she took Sugar.
I think that my sister is about to have Molly as an emotional support animal. She was so excited to tell me this last week, because Winnie was sick. So, because I don't think chat knows. Winnie got into the trash last Saturday, and she got really sick this week, like super duper sick. She had pancreatitis. But she's back to normal now. She's back to her normal self. But she was really sick, so like so much that my sister had come visit. But when she came to visit, Molly was also over, which is my sister's dog, and who I call my niece. She's my niecey niece. Every time I see her, I'm like, "That's my niecey niece."
Aww.
And so she was so excited to be like, oh yeah, I'm about to have Molly as an emotional support animal, which means they don't have to pay the pet fee for her in my apartment anymore, which means I can adopt another one. And I'm like, oh, okay, B.
Oh no.
Whatever works for you. I know that she's been wanting to foster some dogs because she's really worried that Molly's lonely when she's at work all day. And you can't always drop her off here. Especially now that I'm working during the afternoon. And my dad started a new job too. But he's at home. But like, you know, Molly barks a lot. Anyway, I'm focusing.
We're focusing. I'm gonna play with the brushes.
Good. Have at it. Chat, if any of you guys want to join in with drawing, you don't have to, but there is a link in the chat. And we're gonna get started with chapter 3 at WyvernLair.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go. Alright. It was clear that Jackie was eager to have someone new to show around WyvernLair. He led the way, pointing out important features of the camp. Most of the center area was taken up by tents for people to stay in. In addition, there was an area dedicated to cooking, with campfires and stacks of pots and dishes, a wide, clear area for people to practice sword fighting and other combat, and a large space for storage. All of this is fairly normal for any camp, or at least that's what Chase figured, considering he'd never been in a camp of any kind. But he was pretty sure that the massive skeleton made WyvernLair much different than any other camp. Every bit had been planned around the bones embedded in the ground. The tents were encircled by the dragon. The cooking fires were dotted around the leg bones. The combat field was spread out along the wings and extended out from the rest of the body. And the storage was inside the oversized ribcage, canvas stretched over the gaps to keep out the weather. Inside the ribs was the most incredible place Chase had ever been. He kept his head craned upwards, following the curve of the ivory bones, each one big enough that it would take 3 full-grown men to encircle it. The storage inside the ribcage was much less impressive in comparison, though he did have to admit, he'd never seen this amount of weapons, armor, parchment, and foodstuffs in one place. Not to mention all the miscellaneous items as well, like lanterns and chests for storage. Oh, you need a jacket, Jackie suddenly said, bringing Chase back into the conversation. You can take one of the command ones over here, or communal ones over here. He grabbed Chase's hand and pulled him to the side of the ribs, where the chests were full of various clothing, each labeled with types and sizes. Unless you're a cloak person? No. Jackets are good, Chase said dazedly. Great! What are you, 5? Jackie waited for Chase to nod, then headed over to the appropriate chest. We don't have that many 5s left.
Fun fact about that line right there. That's a reference to Artemis Fowl.
Really?
For some reason, there's like a scene in like the second Artemis Fowl book where they're like trying on like clothes, and Holly, who is a fairy, looks at Artemis, who's a human, and she's like, "What are you, a 6?" And Artemis is just like, "I don't know. I don't know how you measure clothes." And she like mocks him for it because he's like the super genius. Mm-hmm. So she's like, "I can't believe you don't know your size, man. Call the presses." People ship those two, which is not appropriate at all, considering Holly is an adult.
Gross.
I don't get it.
I was just thinking
I know why it happened, but I don't believe.
I was just editing Modern Fantasy today, and the part that I ended on was them all in the thrift shop. So I'm like, my brain got confused for a second, like, why? They're jackets. I'm not sure I got to that part yet. Chase got to his coat. I was like, I'm having so much fun, but like we had like the way that we wrote out the scene, which totally makes sense roleplay wise, it's hard editing wise because you want everything to flow right, and you don't want to like have the audience like jumping back and forth in between conversations. Like it makes sense roleplay wise, not so much novel wise. So I'm having to like put them into little sections. It's like a little matching puzzle where I'm like matching the sections that go together and then trying to find like a good transitional piece in between. I actually really enjoy it, but like it's a huge section.
Yeah.
And I think that most of Modern Fantasy is gonna be that way.
Yeah. We do a lot. I think that's when our like jumping back and forth really started to like take shape, if that makes sense.
I know that I'm better about, like, not having as much, like... Because that's something when I edit stuff out for our roleplays, like, I edit out a bunch of bro jumps at the sudden noise that you just referenced in your line before, you know? Because when you're editing it in, it could just be like, that noise happens, bro jumps, instead of bro jumps at the noise that we literally just mentioned.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So I'm doing better about not having that as much, so that's less for me to edit. But This roleplay isn't even, it doesn't feel that old now, but I think it's almost a year since we did it.
Ooh, look at this. Look at this
Ooh!
brush.
I have a brush like that in Procreate. It's very nice.
It's called Leaf.
It's pretty.
Hang on a sec.
Ooh!
I'm trying to find.
Can you paint with all the colors of
the wind? I'm trying to find one that doesn't. That looks most like fall leaves. That one. This one. Look at this.
Yeah.
That looks like fall.
I like it. Great, what are you, a 5? Jackie waited for Chase and on and headed over to the appropriate chest. We don't have that many 5s left. A lot of people have measurements around here. Around there. It's like, I hope they have measurements. That's how you figure out what clothes you wear. I'll move my VTuber over every time I look over it. It's like, wow, okay. He flipped over the lid chest. Yeah, there's just one. Hope you like yellow. After a bit of rummaging, he pulled out a dull, flaxen jacket and tossed it in Chase's direction. Chase fumbled for a bit before catching it. It was a fairly normal jacket, and he quickly pulled it on. Autumn in the mountains was not a time to walk around without one. He had been chilly all throughout their walk. Alright, all that's left is the skull, Jackie said. I don't know how often you'll be in there, but it's good to... I'm sorry, I'm still caught up on the fact that we're going inside a dragon skeleton, Chase interrupted. Pause.
There are paws.
Hearts.
And there are hearts.
Oh.
I can do cool stuff with this. Just give me a minute.
I will even you. I'm sorry, I'm still caught up with the fact that I'm inside a dragon skeleton, Chase interrupted. Henrik, who'd been following the tour quietly and letting Jackie do all the talking, suddenly burst into laughter. I told you, it is shocking, isn't it? Well, yes! Chase looked back at the curve of the ribs above them, slowly shaking his head. I heard dragons were large, but I didn't really picture it before this. Technically, this is not the skeleton of a full-blooded great dragon, Henrik said. What? The dragon that most people think of with 4 legs and 2 or more wings? That is a great dragon, Henrik explained. I'm sure you noticed this one has 2 legs. It was likely a wyvern/great dragon crossbreed. Hence the name WyvernLair, Jackie added. What's the difference? Chase asked. Wyverns only had 2 legs and larger wings. They walked a bit like birds do, Henrik continued, and they were usually much smaller. There are some accounts of humans riding them, but this was either a normally large wyvern or was a crossbreed with the great dragons, which, yes, could grow as big as this, but that was not so common. Elders, Chase muttered. The fact that they were once creatures as large as this roaming land big enough to encircle half a town, it made him glad they weren't around anymore. It was really lucky that we found this place, Jackie said. Not because of the skeleton, but because of its location. There are no trees growing near the bones, so we have room to spread out. And we have our backs to rock walls, which makes it more defensible. He paused. Anyway, the last part of our tour is the skull, and then we can set you up with a tent. Oh, actually, the spare tents are kept here. Let's grab that now. I get my own? Chase and Pride? Of course! We have plenty to spare, Jackie said casually. We brought a whole bunch up, but recruitment has been slow. Non-existent, Henrik muttered. He reached into one of his belt pouches and took out a small flask, taking a quick drink. Well, yes, Jackie admitted. But let's go! We're almost done! The skull was just as massive as the... Well, wow, foreshadowing? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because his illness and all that.
Yeah. The skull was just as massive as the rest of the skeleton, with wicked sharp teeth as tall as Chase. He stared at them as Jackie and Henrik had led him around to the back, where there was a slight gap where the skull met the spine. They passed through the gap. They passed through that gap and ended up inside. Much like the ribs, the skull had been converted into a room, with canvas blocking the eye sockets and a large navel cavity to make a rough roof. This wasn't as large as storage, but it was still at least 3 times as large as Chase's cottage. There were more chests in here, and a few rickety desks where people Mask, always nearby, sat, reading and writing on parchment. They all glanced up at the three men into the room, then looked away. In the middle of the skull was a large circular table made of solid dark wood and surrounded by chairs. Various maps were spread on the surface of the table, held down by weights. Chase glanced at the largest map and immediately recognized it as a map of the Kingdom of Glasul. A detailed one, too, covering almost all of the island. The Dragon's Teeth Mountains ran down the center, with the smaller North Haven...
It's Nordhaven, but it's...
Nordhaven. Yeah. Nordhaven Range branching off to the east, along the northern shore. The southern moors were present, slowly merging into the sea. Rivers and forests he never heard of crossed the parchment, with each major town and city was represented by a labeled black dot. The only part of the map left blank was the area... Bless you!
Thank you.
The only part of the map left blank was the area to the west of the Dragon's Teeth, which simply had Wildwood written across it. Oh hey, you like the maps? Jackie asked, noticing Chase's attention. We use those for planning stuff. A lot of strategy and meetings happen here. This is also where we keep all our records and sort through all our messages with the other Phantom locations. Since you're part of the group now, you'll eventually go on missions, but if that's the case, you'll have to write a report and deliver it here. Missions? Chase repeated. His head was starting to swim a bit with the new information. Well, if you want to, Jackie said awkwardly. I mean, you could stay here and do medicine with Henrik, or be part of our administration. Administration? This time, Chase laughed a bit as he repeated the word. Organization is very important, Schneep emphasized. There are a lot of us, and we do a lot of things. If we have no organization, then we do not know what we're doing. Yeah, and those things we do are missions, Jackie said. Alright, what kind of missions? Chase asked. Depends. We might need to investigate some place or something or someone. We might need to go in and stop an act of injustice or rescue people who've been hurt. Jackie paused. If we heard about the king's plans for the mountain villages to burn, then we could have shown up in time. Chase felt his stomach twist at the mention of the burning villages. There was guilt in Jackie's voice. He clearly felt awful about the phantoms couldn't do anything to prevent that. Well, Chase took a deep breath. I guess we'll just have to make sure things like that don't happen again. Jackie nodded. Henrik placed a hand on his shoulder, and that seemed to steady him. He drew himself to his full height and stiffened his posture. Exactly. The king may think he can get away with any of this. The king may think he can get away with any of this just because of his position, but the people will not stand for it. We will not stand for it. As long as this action caused death and damage, we will work to remove him. For a moment, Chase was in awe of the resolve Jackie showed. He wasn't that physically intimidating, being almost a head shorter than Chase and a head and a half shorter than Henrik, but he had a commanding aura. Maybe the strength of his conviction was catching. Exactly, Chase said. That's what I want to do. His simple statement sounded lame in comparison. Jackie smiled. That's why we're so glad to have you. He relaxed a bit, looking over at Henrik. And if Schneefs likes you, then I do too. Chase couldn't hold back a laugh. I'm sorry. What did you call him? Henrik's expression fell. He took his hand off Jackie's shoulder and pushed him with his shoulder. I told you, stop using that. But it's so fun to say, Jackie said cheerfully. Chase, do you know that Henrik's surname is Schneepelstein? Chase fought to stifle his laughter. Or he stifle his giggles. Now he remembered that particular fact from the first meeting with Henrik. I'm sure that's a usual surname in Elder. It is not, Henrik said weirdly. It sounds just as ridiculous over there. Go ahead, laugh about it. Get it out of your mind now. No, I'm fine. Promise. Chase coughed a bit, clearing his throat of laughter. At least you have a surname. It is common to have one where I'm from. Henrik waved away the comment. I know here it is an ability thing, but not in Alderday, or its neighbors. Really? Chase said, interested. Really? It's so much easier than your family names, Henrik said bluntly, turning to leave. Hey, wait for us! Jackie took Chase's hand, and the two of them followed Henrik out of the dragon skull. Chase, are you awake? The first thing Chase heard when waking up was someone calling his name. Or, calling his voice.
Did I,
He wrote calling his voice instead of calling his name.
Ah, shoot. Did I skip a page break, or did you go through that real fast?
Oh, yeah, the page break's right here.
Ah, okay, good.
Ooh, a Streambuds message. Hang on.
Tifa is in a certain location. God, my back hurts. This place is not good for posture. I don't know how my sister, like, her desk is piled with stuff. I literally can't use it. I have to sit on her bed.
That is so fair. The one bad thing about going to check messages real fast, and then I have to go put all my windows back in the right order. Chase, are you awake? The first thing Chase heard when waking up was someone calling his name. Instinctively, he rolled over and stretched his arm to the right, only met with nothing but empty space. Oh, right. He opened his eyes to a canvas wall and ceiling. He'd gotten his tent yesterday, and Jackie had shown him how to set it up in a spot near the dragon's vine. From there, the rest of the day had passed slowly. Awkwardly, too, as Chase didn't feel up to approaching any of the masked people who were part of the Phantoms. Felt strange, like he was constantly intruding on something. So he just spent time in his tent, and when dinner time rolled around, he showed up to get some stew from the cooking fire, then went off to eat on his own. Eventually the sun set, and he figured it was time to go to bed. Chase? The voice called again. Henrik? Chase asked, sitting up and wiggling out of the bedroll he'd been given. Oh, you are awake. Can I open the flap? Go ahead. It wasn't like he was indecent or anything. He was actually still wearing his clothes from the day before. Maybe we should check out the storage, see if they had anything else he could use. Henrik pushed open the flap of the tent and ducked inside, pushing his owl's mask up to his forehead. Ah, good. I have something for you. He yelled at a folded piece of parchment. Puzzled, Chase took it. What is this? He asked and unfolded it. Well, now that you are a phantom, there are some things that you need to be familiar with, Henrik said. Jackie put together a schedule for you for today. Chase silently looked at the words. He blinked and squinted, then looked back at Henrik.
TV static.
Ooh, I like that. Looks super dope. I like that.
I'm messing with some of the brush settings. It's very cool.
That's how Magnificent's cloak looks.
Yeah, it's like static.
Oh, that's so exciting. I'm so jealous. So deep. Ooh, that looks like fur for a second.
This is fun. I like this. Oh, that one's boring. Oh, it looks like wood now.
It does.
This was the original brush, by the way.
Oh.
It's just plain.
Sorry, Stream, I have to tell my friend that I'm proud of them for reasons that I cannot disclose.
Hell yeah.
But they must know. Anyway, Chase silently looked at the words. He blinked, then squinted, and looked back up at Hendrik. I'm sorry, but I can't read this. Hendrik didn't even have a response for that. You cannot read? I can, but only a little, Chase admitted. I know the alphabet and numbers, but as for words, I can read what I'm familiar with. Food, animal names, archery gear, things like that. He tried to no mumble, somehow embarrassed. Reading had never been an issue before. No one in town knew enough to get by, but now he wondered, Is that not normal?
I can make. I can. Ooh.
I'm so glad you're having a good time with.
Yeah, I'm just like looking at the brushes, and they're like.
They're fun to play with.
Yeah.
That's okay, Henrik said, picking up Chase's tone. Jackie was the same way. We had to teach him. He chuckled a bit at the memory. I will explain then. After breakfast, you will meet with Nemette in the infirmary. She will give you a basic medicine check to see what you know and fill you in on anything you need. Then you will head down to the tip of the tail and meet a man there named Trip. I understand you don't know much about magic, so he will give you an overview. Then there will be lunch, and you will head to the combat field to start training with Holly and Lucas. Chase started. What was that last name? Lucas, Henrik repeated. You will probably be working with him more since you seem inclined with bows and not closer combat. Right, Chase nodded. That name sounded familiar, like he'd heard it recently. Then come back for dinner, and I will check up on you, Henrik continued. And by then, hopefully, you will know what you want to do most in the group. Medicine, organization, and such. And we will get you a temporary mask. So, why masks? Chase asked. I like the idea, but why? Who came up with it? Oh, the mask concept was Jackie's idea, but the animal part was added by someone else, Henrik said. There was an odd pause there, like he was going to say something else? A name, perhaps? We are masked so the people will not recognize us. Many of us have friends and family who will be at risk if the king's people knew we're working against him. Like, for me, you know I'm a traveling doctor, yes? Well, when I met you last year, I was already working with the Phantoms. Can you imagine what would happen if someone recognized me as a rebel? Chase shivered. Yeah, I can. If the king was willing to burn down the mountain... I said that weird. The king was willing to... What are we doing? Why are we like this?
I don't know. I was doing like the sound that Monokuma makes when he pops up. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. If the king was willing to burn down the mountain villages for an unknown reason, what would he do? What would he do to find one of the rebels? With that thought in mind, he slowly stood up. So I'll get started then, meeting with all these strangers. Don't be nervous, Chase, Henrik said gently. Everyone new we find has to go through something like this. And these are some of our best people. Thanks, Chase said. That's good to know.
God.
Ooh, that was cool. Still,
oh my god.
You okay?
No, I'm just like in shock and awe how bad it looks.
It's just fun.
I mean, yeah, but like this particular color combination is not doing it for me.
Yeah, no, it's that. That was better.
This is better.
That's good to know. Still, his stomach was slowly tying itself in knots, so he headed towards the cooking fires, about to start the day. After a quick breakfast of toasted bread, light, but with those stomach knots still hard to get through, Chase ended up in a gentle slope towards the infirmary cave in the rock wall. Slipping through the flap in the canvas, he found it unchanged from the day before, when he had been discharged. Nobody was inside except for... Ibis? Chase asked. Hello, Chase. Ibis smiled at him. Her mask was off, revealing her features and round, dark eyes for the first time. It's good to see you again. And please, my name is Nemette. Oh, I'm supposed to be meeting you! That explained why she was standing in the entrance. She was waiting for him. Yes. Nemette nodded. Henrik has told me to give you a basics in medicine. She turned and headed towards the back, indicating he should follow. Come. This shouldn't take too long. Nemette had set 3 chests on top of each other, making a sort of rough chest-height table. On top of the flat surface of the chest table was a series of bottles and bags, each one neatly labeled. Here. These are some of our common tonics and medicines we use here. Tell me what you recognize. Chase considered the layout before him. There are probably about 30 in total if he had to guess. This is for colds, right? And fevers? And this one too. And these dried leaves there for nausea. Oh, and this will put you to sleep if you put it in water or stew. This is a salve, also for fevers, and this is a balm for sores, and this will stop infection and cuts and scrapes. And that's what I know. Impressive, Nemette nodded. Really? That's only a fraction of the total, Chase said doubtfully. Most people who join up only know Redleaf, Bainrouche,
yeah, let me look at the screen.
Branrush, and Seedbane.
Branrush. And Seedbane, yeah. Branrush.
Nemette indicated each medicine as she listed them. Fevers, cuts, and well, I'm sure you know what Seedbane is for. Even if you said nothing. You are married, after all. She laughed as Chase slowly turned red. Ah, my apologies. The point is...
Birth control.
Birth control. Medieval birth control.
Medieval birth control.
I can't remember if we ever mentioned that in... I feel like that was probably mentioned in Modern Fantasy.
Possibly.
I feel like we've mentioned condoms somewhere.
Modern Fantasy might have been too early for me in my acceptance of stuff. But
that might have been. Maybe it was not long ago to King, what we called it? World Collide.
Yeah. That was that makes more sense.
That doesn't make it makes more sense in the context of stuff too. Cause he's back in the world. Anyway. This is stuff that the chat knows nothing about. Well, you will eventually!
Yeah. Eventually!
Because God knows I'm excited to show World Collide someday. It's really fun.
I was worried that, like, World Collide would be too indulgent.
No, I think it's super fun. There's so much fun world building. I'm sure, like, lots of Fantasy Mass people would be super interested to see the rest of the world do.
Yeah. Aww.
And they're not. They're liars! I have a particular way. I was watching 10-minute Power Hours yesterday. And there's a particular way that Dan says something, blah blah blah, if not, you're a liar! It's just like, fucking, the way that he said it's echoing in my head. Yes, exactly.
I can hear it too!
You're a liar! I wish I could just do Dan's voice. Anyway.
Start
doing the Looney Tunes. She laughed and Chase slowly turned red. My apologies. The point is, you are ahead of most others. Do we really need all of these? Chase asked, quickly moving on. Oh, yes. You know that when people gather together, that sickness spreads easily. Many of these will help to cure a specific disease, while others are a general tonic, like Redleaf. Nemette paused, then picked up about 10 of the medicines and put them on the floor. Hendrik says that you are not so much caught up on magic, so we will leave these ones out for discussion for now. Chase started at that. The concept of mixing medicine with magic made him uneasy. He may not know much about magic, but he knew it could be dangerous. I was wondering, Nemette, what did you do before you joined the Phantoms? I know Hendrik's a traveling doctor. Are you the same? Not exactly, Nemette shrugged. I was a student of medicine back home. And where was that? A land called...
You never said this out loud.
Calnithis.
Calnithis.
It's like I recognize the look of it, but I never knew how to pronounce it.
There's supposed to be a little like yeah, there's supposed to be a little like sound. Like it's just like
Calnithis.
Yeah, it's probably hard for English speakers.
Yeah.
Oh, this is perfect.
Ooh, that's pretty. Nemette grinned a bit at Chase's confused expression. You would not have heard of it. It is to the south on another continent. But not the same continent as Hendrik's, Altarday. We have great schools and libraries there. The best in the world. I was learning to become a doctor, and had almost finished my schooling, but one of the final requirements was to learn the medicine of another land. I chose here, Glasul, because you are well known for your medicine. But then I arrived and saw the state of things, and... well... Her expression fell for a moment. I'm sorry, she said awkwardly. Do you ever think about going back? Nemette nodded briefly. Of course. I have family, friends, but I cannot just abandon things. It is not in my nature to leave things unsettled. She took a deep breath and moved on. But as for your basics in medicine, let me start by getting you familiar with ones you don't know. It was a while later before Chase left the infirmary, his head feeling stuffed with all the new information Demet had drilled into him. Already some of it was starting to slip away, but he immediately knew that he could never be a doctor. If these were the basics, he couldn't even begin to think about what would require to complete the training to become one. But he didn't have time to let all that new knowledge sink in. Judging by the sun's position, it was getting close to noon, and to lunch. He still had to meet up with someone else before it was time to eat, so he hurried onward, running along the curve of the dragon's bones, following them as they got smaller and smaller, until they eventually merged into the packed ground. Chase slowed to a stop and looked around confused. This was the end of the tail, wasn't it? So where was... Hey, you're the new one, right? Chase yelped and spun around. A man was sitting between the spine bones of the dragon, almost... hello, eyes? Scary. Who are you drawing?
You don't recognize the color scheme? I have only drawn them like once, so...
I guess so. I'm like, blue, scary eyes. Is it... My brain went Ayla.
Yes.
Oh,
You are
yeah!
correct.
Hi, Ayla. Love you, boo. Don't, actually. Chase yelped and spun around. A man was sitting between the spines of the bones of the dragons, almost unnoticeable in the shadow beneath them. Yep, that's me, he said slowly. And you are, Trip? The man nodded, hopped to his feet, and walked over to Chase. Standing there, he was short, even shorter than Jackie. He wore a dark brown cloak that reached his knees, and of course a mask. This one was shaped like a ram's head, complete with curved horns, and the black symbol on the forehead was actually 4 different symbols arranged in a diamond formation. After a moment of looking at them, Chase realized they were the suits often used on playing cards. How odd. The man reached up and took off the mask, ruffling his golden brown hair and revealing dark eyes. Trip, son of Seamus, he said shortly. And you are? Chase, son of Brody. Chase said automatically. Hunter told you I was... And you're not up on magic and need a course, yeah. Trip interrupted, swinging his mask around his finger. Chase took a step back despite being far away. If that went flying, those pastor horns would do some damage. And he asked me to do it because I'm our second best guy. You're the... What do you already know, Brody son? Trip continued. Ever met a magic wielder? There were a handful in town. Sorcerer, wizard, enchanter, oracle, witch. What? Chase blinked. I think they were all sorcerers. How many? Only a handful. About 6 or 7? For a village of 400 people or so? Trip laughed. Everyone must have been magically incompetent. Impotent. Incompetent and impotent are 2 different words.
2 different words.
Everyone must have been magically impotent. Could you slow down? Chase snapped. I thought you were supposed to teach me about magic, not make fun of me for not knowing anything. Trip paused, then grinned. It's just banter, Brody son. I didn't mean offense, but hey, you called me out. Good on you for that. My apologies. His grin faded. But I'm not joking about that. There should have been at least 4 times that number of magic wielders in a town that size. What happened? Were the Seekers being lazy for the past few years? Seekers? Chase repeated, puzzled. Trip looked up at the sky. How elders? They haven't been showing up at all, have they? If you don't even know about them, alright. We'll start from the beginning. Then. He sat down on the ground, folding his legs under him. Slowly, Chase sat down across from him. You know of the 5 branches, right? I'm pretty sure everyone in the world has at least heard of their names. Yes, Chase said, nodding. Wizards, sorcerers, enchanters, oracles, and witches. He mostly heard about them in stories, and was especially fuzzy on the details about those last 3. A common mistake people will make is thinking that they're all different things. Trip started drawing in the dirt with his finger, when really, all magic is the same. It's like a tree. Just because each branch might look different doesn't mean they don't all come from the same trunk. And in keeping with that metaphor, he drew a rough outline of a tree with 5 different branches. All magics can work with each other. And there's a lot of similarities in between them. For example, Do you know the difference between wizardry and sorcery? They're the two most well-known of the branches. If I'm being honest, I've always been under the impression that wizardry was more powerful, Chase said tentatively. Triff snorfed in disbelief. Snorfed? I said snorfed instead of snorted. What's a
Snorf.
Snorf.
You ever just snorf?
You ever just snorf?
What you doing, sugar? What you doing?
She's snorfing.
She was actually like kind of sniffing something, so
Snorfing. Hey, Tripp snorted in disbelief. Some wizards would like to think that, but no. More varied, yes, but not more powerful. Here, it'll be easy if you go over them one by one. He started to draw symbols by each of the branches, starting with a crude stick figure. Sorcery is the most common magic besides witchcraft. It crops up in people at random. You got 25 people in a room together. One would probably be a sorcerer, even if they didn't know it. Its source is inside the person themselves, and what it does is manipulate the world, like this. He pressed a flat hand against the ground next to him. After a moment, the dirt started to move. Then suddenly, pillars of rock shot through the dirt, rising up from underneath the surface. Chase gasped as the solid stone started to twist, winding around each other to form a braid of rock. Then Tripp removed his hand and the rock froze, as if someone had never been moving in the first place. For a moment, Chase was stunned. Then he managed to ask, "So you're a sorcerer then?" "Exactly," Tripp grinned. "Why'd you look so surprised? You said you knew sorcerers before." Sorcerers? Sorcerers.
Sorcerers.
Need more music. Back to the ba-ba-ba, da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Well, yes, but I hadn't seen their magic too much, Chase admitted. Remember one time when Gwen, the weaver's daughter, had pulled water out of the well? It just streamed out of the depths and sailed right into her bucket. But occasions like that were few and far between. Tripp scrunched his face up, thinking. Well, besides that, each branch of magic has its strengths and weaknesses. Sorcery's strength is that it comes from within. As long as the sorcerer doesn't drain too much energy, they can use their magic forever. And its weakness is that you need a material to manipulate. Like just now, I reached down and pulled rock up from underground. There's a limit to the range where your magic can affect things. Chase nodded. What about wizardry, then? Tripp sketched a rough outline of a necklace next to another branch in the tree. Its strength is its variety. Wizards aren't limited to what things are present. They can conjure out of thin air. But its weakness is this, the focus. He tapped the necklace drawing. Unlike sorcery, wizardry doesn't come from within. Wizards are channeling it from the outside, from a layer of magic that coats the world. But to do so, they need a specially made thing called a focus. It's usually a necklace, because that's handy, but it can be any shape as long as it's made the right way. These dragon bones, for example, they'd be real good to make focuses with. He knocked on the nearest bone. About 1 in 50 people are able to channel wizardry. And now we reach the end of my knowledge, Chase mutters, so what's the next most common? Tripp paused. Enchantment. The image he drew in the dirt was now a misshapen lump. Damn, that's supposed to be a brain. Right, because enchantment is the magic of the mind, isn't it? Chase recalled, casting his memories back to the stories he heard that included enchanters. Yeah. Tripp pursed his lips. How do I explain them? Well, strengths. They're the only magic that can work with your mind. Illusions, talking in your head, things like that. But for their weaknesses, enchanters can't change the world for real. Is it true that enchanters can control your actions? Chase asked. There's a story, the Dark Daemon. The crazy old man who made Arenthold worship him as a god? That's a famous one. Tripp nodded. Well, it's true. Some can change your thoughts and make you do things you wouldn't. But that takes a lot of power. Besides, most enchanters are decent people, like all the rest of us. It's just that we remember the bad ones because they shock us. And only about 1 in 100 people are enchanters anyway. Don't worry about it. There are a few masked phantoms who are enchanters. Chase nodded slowly. The thought of the old story sent shivers down his back, but he should probably trust the magic wielder. He clearly knew more. What about oracles? Trip drew a symbol of an eye in the dirt. Those are the rarest one. You can only get an oracle 1 in 1,000 if you're lucky, but they're not usually that powerful. You'd probably heard that they issue prophecies to what's to come, or that they might even manipulate time itself. Well, that's all bullshit. Or is it? Ba ba ba.
It is. In fantasy math, it is. I just love making a character be like, oh, I heard this thing, and then an knowledgeable character be like, nah, that's not how it works.
No, that's stupid. What? Chase was so surprised by the frankness that he choked on his own gasp. After a few moments of coughing, he continued in a hoarse voice. Hoarse voice? What do you mean? Oracles can't manipulate time. That's the most inane rumor going around about magic there ever was, Tripp stated. They get visions of what's most likely to happen. It's not for sure, and really, most oracles are wrong. But huge strength there, knowing the most likely future. And it comes with a big weakness. A couple, actually. One, that they have to speak their visions out loud while it's happening. It's magic. It's a magic... What's the word? He snapped his fingers for a bit. Compulsion. That's it. They're literally forced to do it. Can't stop that. And 2, the visions are all they can do. They have no other magic. And because of that, some say that oracles are cursed, not gifted. Chase thought about that. If he had a choice, would he take knowing the future over being forced to share it? Maybe. Maybe if he knew what would happen next, he could stop terrible things. Like, his heart panged and he shied away from the thought. No, that didn't sound too bad. People would also know what the future ahead. People would also know what the future held. What of it? He'd take the risk. And the last magic, Tripp said, snapping Chase out of his thoughts. Witchcraft. It's actually the most common. Really? Chase said doubtfully. I bet you're going by the stories where witches are old people that stay in shacks and give out potions. Tripp said, drawing a bottle next to the final branch. Really, the magic of witchcraft isn't in people. Isn't in people like all the others. It's in the land. It's part of the world's magic. Plants with strange properties, the parts of magical animals. These can be mixed together to create amazing effects, and anyone can learn to do it. In fact, most of us here have. Chase suddenly remembered earlier how Nemet had put away some of the medicines during their meeting. It was because he didn't know much about magic. Wait, you mean anyone can make potions? Become a witch? Well, not anyone, Trent muttered. If you have magic of your own, you can't learn witchcraft. The knowledge just slips away, and if we try anyway, nothing works, even if it should. You can't use more than one magic. It'd be like trying to hold on to every branch of a tree. If the tree was small, though, Chase joked, it's not. The magic tree is big. The branches are the type where you need to hold on to them with both hands, Tripp said firmly. Oh, I see.
I love the voice you're doing for Tripp. I love it. It's perfect.
Thanks. And it's just like, you know who I'm trying to channel? Chilchuck.
Because he's a short king, I get it.
Yeah, it's just like that's the image that popped in my head now. I don't think that was there when I read this last year, but it is now.
No, I didn't even know Dungeon Meshi existed when I wrote this story.
Oh, of course. No, of course not, but it fits. As like Tripp and Chilchuck would high five and be like, yeah, I get you. Except Chilchuck is so like against magic. Well, he's not against. He's more cautious, I think. Anyway.
Yeah.
He's not like Senshi. I'm Dungeon Meshi. I can't wait for
Dungeon Meshi.
I love Dungeon Meshi. Anyway.
When is it coming out?
I don't know. I want it to be soon. You know, I'm gonna go look that up. When does Dungeon Meshi?
Dungeon Meshi.
No specific dates left that yet. It'll probably, some people are like a year. Predictions are summer 2025. So maybe soon. Please.
Please.
Please. Anyway. Oh, I see. Chase cleared his throat. Clearly, using more than one magic wasn't something to make light of. It was too impossible. And what about those seekers you mentioned earlier? Trip was eager to move on. Seekers are wizards that can sense the pressure of magic. What's supposed to happen is that these seekers are supposed to stop by every town twice every year. In practice, that's faded away. Most towns only see them once a year, and the farther you get away from Solitaire, the less often you'll see them. My town where I grew up, they came by every 3 years, but you don't know what they are, then have you ever seen them? At that, Chase had a vague memory of a group of strangers visiting Hilltown when he was a child. They were dressed finely, and the image of an elaborate brooch one of them was wearing flashed in his mind. The next day, Hanson, an old friend of his, announced that to all the kids that he was going away for special school. Not in years. Long enough for me to forget what they are. Trip huffed. I bet it's not worth the effort to come all the way up here. Bunch of nambies. He rolled his eyes. Seekers are employed by the royal family. They find young magic wielders and offer to give them schooling, to teach them how to use their magic. Schooling that's funded by the crowns. It's not required. I never went. He went southern for a second.
I noticed that.
But is encouraged. Otherwise, you might end up having magic shooting out of your... Is that why most wizards side with the king? Chase asked, remembering what Hendrik said about the source of the village fire. Part of it. Wizards especially have a reason to keep the king on the king's good side. Trip paused. Those focuses I told you about, that wizards need to use their magic? The crown fund the making of those too. And the selling. Everything about them. Oh. Chase's eyes widened with realization. So, if a wizard decided to oppose the king, there's a chance that they wouldn't have access to a focus anymore. And their magic?
You're making Trip so southern, by the way, and I love it.
I didn't mean to. He got southern all of a sudden.
No, it makes sense because he is supposed to be like sort of
Heck.
I don't want to say lower class, but yeah, like he's from a rural area.
Yeah. It's like in my head, Chase should be a little more hick too because he's from the mountains.
He's hick because he's American. All the others are Irish.
And Chase is just like my necessary protagonist voice because it's closest to my voice.
That's so fair.
Realized because he's probably going to be talking the most. Technically,
this is mostly his inner monologue.
Yeah.
So that's
he's a main character. Trip nodded. That's why most of us magic wielders and the phantoms are sorcerers and a few enchanters. No oracles? Oh, elders no. You heard about how hard they are to find. Wish we had some though. That'd be helpful. Trip stretched his arms and stood up. Anyway, that's all I have to say. You got it all? I think so, yes, Chase said. He looked up at the sky, mentally reviewing everything he heard. Sorcery, wizardry, enchantment, oculary, and witchcraft.
Oculary is how I pronounce
it. Oculary and witchcraft. All very different.
Did I misspell it?
I don't know.
Oraculary. Is there an R in it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's oraculary.
Oraculary.
Kind of like you're saying arachnid, but then you change your mind.
All very different. All with things that they could do in elimination that slowed them down. That made sense. He nodded to himself and then noticed the position of the sun. Shit! Chase shot to his feet. It's noon! After lunch more means, huh? Trip raised an eyebrow, then pulled his rambath back on. Let me guess. Lucas and Holly? Better hurry, Brody son. Not good to be late for those two. Chase swung by Chase swung by the cooking fires to grab some food, then hurried over to the combat field along the dragon's wings. Originally, he wondered if the wing bones would get in the way, but apparently the dragon had died with its wings spread out as far as it could, leaving ample room in between the bones. He was just having a big stretch when he died.
Yeah.
Oh, my VTuber froze in the funniest place while I was taking a drink of water real fast.
I have noticed a few times, like, when I pause the stream when I'm rewatching it, sometimes your VTuber looks high.
Yeah, definitely. Right before, like, I go into, like, the sleep pose, like, it usually, like, traps my eyes in a weird place. That's actually why I made, like, a sleep animation, because, like, before that happened, it would pause in, like, the station that it was last tracking in, and that also looks really crazy.
I remember it, I think.
Well, apparently the dragon had died. I'm loving it. The packed dirt was lined with targets, crude dummies made of sacks of hay tied to sticks, and racks of wooden training weapons. Occasionally, there were random chests or a tent set up to create obstacles to fight around. As he ran out into the fields, he passed many people, some sparring in groups, others practicing on their own. None of them paid him any mind. Now that he was here, he wasn't sure where to go. The fields took up all the space cleared by the wings, which was, as it turned out, quite a lot. Maybe he should have asked Henrik for descriptions of the people he'd been meeting with. Feeling his nerves eating away in his stomach, he turned to the nearest person and asked quietly, "Excuse me? I'm looking for Lucas and Holly?" The person turned around, looked at him and smiled. "Oh, it's you! You're the new one!" Yes," Chase said slowly. It was just now occurring to him how big this person was. This woman was, actually, judging by her voice. She towered over him, and her sleeveless tunic showed off the muscles of her tattooed arms. Strange to be wearing no sleeves.
Holly's hot.
Holly is hot.
I'm putting that out there. If you're not picturing her hot, then you're doing it wrong.
You know who I always picture Holly as for some reason? Do you remember?
Who?
I don't remember her name, but I don't know if you watched this far in Adventure Time, but do you ever remember Susan? Susan Strong.
Yes!
That's who I imagine with Holly. And also because her name is Holly, I keep thinking Holly Berry from Cookie Run.
From Cookie Run? Oh my god, was that a subconscious influence?
Maybe.
It might have been a subconscious influence. I'm pretty sure I was into Cookie Run by this point.
Definitely. I have to think about how big this person. She towered over him in her sleeveless and showed the muscles of her tattooed arms. Strange to be wearing no sleeves in the chill mountain air, but she probably wasn't bothered. "I'm Holly." That was close to trip. What's a good voice for Holly?
You don't have to do too much of a voice if you don't want.
"I'm Holly." Her smile widened. "Daughter of Rose." "Oh!" Chase blinked. The name didn't fit her at all. But alright, he wasn't one to say anything. "Chase, son of Brody. Lovely to meet you." Holly grabbed his hand and vigorously shook it. She wasn't wearing her mask, but it hung around her neck. A bear. And the symbol on its forehead was the same as the one on Jackie's wolf mask. A circle with 2 dots inside. "Me and Lucas are in charge of the combat up in WyvernLair. Speaking of which, she turned around. Luke! He's here!" Chase leaned around Holly to look at who she was addressing. Suddenly felt cold despite his jacket. Now we remember where he heard that name before. While he'd been sick with the shivering in the infirmary, he'd overheard a conversation between Jackie and a man in a fox mask. The man had wanted to throw him out of camp, but Jackie had refused, and now Chase was staring at the very same man. "I can see that," Lucas said shortly. He was facing a series of targets, but didn't turn to look at Holly and Chase. Instead, he nearly took another arrow from the quiver on his back, knocked it in his bow, and shot. The arrow flew straight into the center of the farthest target, which was barely the size of a hand spread wide. That's a good description.
Yeah, I was always... I found, like, something I try to do in Fantasy Mask is I try to avoid units of measurement.
Yeah, because...
Like, even made up units of measurement, yeah.
It's really good because it like makes it feel like, you know, they are focusing more on like the natural world in a way.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure eventually, with time, they'll evolve like I don't know, like yeah, like the same way that like Americans have like a foot, it will probably be called like a hand or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that is an actual unit of measurement already.
No, you can't. You didn't even look! Holly scowled and turned back around. Sorry about him, Chase. He's been snippy. Well, I wouldn't be snippy if I hadn't been standing out here for an hour, waiting for someone who didn't bother to show up on time, Lucas snapped. I'm not an hour late, Chase protested weakly. Even behind the fox mask, Lucas' expression was twisted with frustration and annoyance. It's a matter of principle, Lucas said, finally turning to face Chase. When he did, Chase noticed a symbol on his mask for the first time, an X with a dot on either side. Well, let's just get into it, Holly said, folding her arms. Now, Chase, you're a hunter, right? So, you have some experience with short bows. I can shoot, yes, Chase agreed. But I've never heard the term short bow before. Lucas rolled his eyes, motion that was mostly partially hidden by the mask that was still visible enough for Chase to catch. It means a smaller bow. In comparison to Lucas' massive beast of a longbow over there, Holly gestured towards Lucas's bow. It was almost as tall as him. Short bows are better for mobility and closer range, while long bows are more suited for staying stationary and shooting long distances. Ah, Chase nodded. That made sense. Bigger bows were more powerful, but also harder to draw back and move around. Emma once tried to shoot Chase's own bow when she was 7, and couldn't pull the string even a little. I'm assuming you're a fairly good shot, Holly said, rubbing her chin. And you'll probably need to work with me more. I'm in charge of close-range combat, while Lucas handles the long range with bows, so if we're to... Hold on a moment, Holly, Lucas interrupted. I want to see what he can do. Holly shot Lucas a dirty look. There's no need... Of course there is. We should know what our starting point is. Lucas turned and walked towards a nearby weapons rack, pulling out a smaller longbow and a quiver of matching arrows. He headed back to the others and thrust the tools at Chase. Show me how well you hunt. Alright, I will. Chase took the bow and quiver slowly. He didn't like being tested, especially when the test was proposed by a man who clearly thought he was some sort of spy for the king, and might be looking for an excuse to kick him out. Should he pretend to be worse than he actually was? No, that would just be complicated. He'd shoot normally. He stepped up to the place Lucas had been standing, facing the targets, and strapped the quiver onto his back. For a moment, he examined the bow. Solidly built. Looked newer than the one he used back home. And it had these odd curves. Was this a recurve model? He heard of them, but never used one before. Soon, please, Lucas called. Holly promptly hit him on the back of the head. Take your time, Chase. Don't worry. I think my partner had to go for a second.
I know, I'm here. Okay. Sorry, I had to freaking... My family's all like everyone's moving around and stuff.
No, you're good. I was like, I feel like I'm rude for continuing to read for a second.
No, it's totally fine.
Are you drawing more D&D people?
Kinda.
Ooh.
I mean, it's just like this is just an idea I've had for a little bit.
I'm like, I was about to call them God, but Ayla isn't a god. I have to remember that.
Non-gods.
Being of chaos. Being of being.
Being of being, exactly.
Chase nodded. His mouth was suddenly very dry, but he swallowed his nerves, adjusted his stance, and knocked an arrow. He hit it against the back of his head in the process of taking out the quiver, not used to wearing it on his back, and glanced back at the two, watching to gauge their reactions. Holly looked supportive, but Lucas was unreadable. He looked away again. There were 10 arrows in the quiver and 10 targets set up in front of him. He must need to hit all of them, so he drew back, aimed, and let loose the arrow. 10 arrows. 5 of them hit the closest targets. 2 of them hit their target center. 1 hit the edge of one on the farther target. The remaining 4 missed. Feeling a sinking feeling in his stomach, he turned back to Holly and Lucas. Wow. That was the most utterly average thing I've ever seen, Lucas said bluntly. You hit more than I can, Holly said positively, giving him a short round of applause. That's great! Chase nodded silently. I'm not used to this bow. Lucas hummed. He went to collect the arrows, giving Chase a side-eyed look as he walked past. It seemed as though his suspicions hadn't been assuaged. If anything, he looked even more wary. Holly walked up to Chase and clapped a hand on his back. Chase promptly lost his balance for the force of the contact, and Holly helped him right himself. Oh, sorry about that, she said. And sorry about Lucas. He's had a hard time trusting people. I'm sure you'll win him over. It's fine, Chase said distantly. I mean, not everyone's going to immediately welcome someone new to a group like this. You need to keep it secret. There are risks. Still, Lucas's distrust combined with his mediocre shooting skills left him feeling a bit down. Like a cloud passing over the sun. Everything just seemed disappointing. Lucas returned.
Oh my god, I just realized I'm drawing Red Guy from Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Lucas returned, arrows in hand. Do it again, he said. Elders and sisters, Luke. We don't have all day, Holly protested. He needs to practice, Lucas said, stone-faced. He needs to start with me. He needs to start with me. You can't handle all your problems from a distance, especially in our situation. What's he to do if a Kingsman jumps in front of him, jumps him from behind, and all he has is our I'm gonna try that again. He needs to start with me. You can't handle all your problems from a distance, especially in our situation. What's he to do if a Kingsman jumps him from behind and all he has are arrows? It's fine, Chase repeated. He rubbed his arms. They hadn't given him an arm guard, and despite the jacket's fabric, his skin still stung from the bowstring. We have until dinner. Holly gave him a look, but sighed and stepped back. 1 hour of shooting. Then it's my turn. Lucas nodded. Deal. Chase sighed a bit and took the arrows from Lucas. It was turning out to be a long day. End of chapter 3.
Yippee! Anyway, yeah, Lucas, the character, I really like that's confusing because my cousin Lucas was just over. And if my family's overhearing, I'm talking about a fictional character. He's a jerk.
Yeah. Family, trust me, please. I'm not talking about our cousin. I'm really excited thinking that this chapter might be the one where we meet Marvin, but it's not yet.
No, that's chapter 6.
Ah. I'm gonna pause real fast to do some ads and go to the bathroom and get water. So, entertain the chat logs. I'll be right back. If there's
alright, time to talk about Master Detective Archives Raincoat.
I think at this point we're entertaining the VOD. Unless Art is actually
Well, I'll entertain. It says 3 people are watching on my video, so
is one of them you?
I don't know how accurate. One of them might be me, but
that's just how small things go sometimes.
It's fine.
At this point, I'm like, this is more for VOD watchers. That's okay. People like to listen in their own time.
VOD watchers.
Anyway, VOD watchers, you can skip 3 minutes from now because it's a quick break.
All right, chat. Master Detective Archives Ring. I'm kidding. Or am I? I mean, I'm like partially kidding. It really is a good game, and so many people. If you like Danganronpa, you're gonna like. Or if you can at least tolerate the Archives Ring Code, you really are. And I don't know. So many people just don't. Why is my thing suddenly lagging? Oh, because OneDrive. Boo. Anyway, so many people don't give Master Detective Archives Ring Code like a fair shot. I feel like because. I don't know. Just because it's like, it's not Danganronpa, you know? They're like, this is the new thing from the creator of Danganronpa, when like, let it be its own thing, guys. I mean, like, fair shot, you can like compare it to it. Like, I will admit, some of the like gameplay aspects are pretty similar. But it's a different type of story altogether. It's a fantastical mystery story. And, of course, Danganronpa is a an absurdist apocalypse death game thing. Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe Danganronpa. It's an absurdist apocalypse death game thing. Anyway. What was I saying? Oh yeah, you can't I can understand comparing, like, the gameplay, like I said. It is kind of similar, but also, like, you can't really compare the story. They're, like, literally completely different genres. People do that all the time. They're like, oh, this... My number one complaint is... Well, I have a lot of complaints, as you can... My number one complaint about people who have complaints is when they're like, oh man, why should I care about any of the killers and victims in this case? I don't know them. And I'm like, you're not supposed to know them. You're not supposed to get attached to them. I mean, you are, to a certain extent. Because they make you do that with one of the cases, a couple of the cases. But the thing is that the main supporting cast of Rancode is the, like, detectives you have around you. And they're a lot more of a slow burn than the characters in Danganronpa are, because oftentimes the characters in Danganronpa have to, like, stand out, and because they might die at any moment, you know that? So, pen pressure. Anyway, yeah. So the characters in Danganronpa have to stand out, but with Rancode, because, like, all the characters are going to survive until the end, you're able to, like, take them at a slower pace, if that makes sense. Like, there's one character who isn't relevant until, like, the 4th chapter, but, like, at the same time, he's been there the whole time, so you do get attached to him, but it's like a slow build, you know? Also, like, I don't know. I just don't like it when people say, like, one work of a creator should be like another work of the same creator, because they're trying to accomplish different things, and, like, as a creator myself, I know that eventually, like, you're going to run into, like, tropes of your own, if that makes sense. You're going to run into tropes that in your writing, and I do think, what is the name of the creator Danganronpa? I don't know. Anyway, I do think he has tropes that are, of course, good and bad. But, like, he's trying to write 2 different stories with Rancode and Danganronpa. They're, like, trying to say different things or trying to accomplish different goals, you know? Hello.
Interesting. That's what you noticed when I came back in.
Yeah, I heard the rustling, yeah.
Yeah. That's the downside of my mic being good. It also catches a lot of other shit.
Same. Apparently.
But, like, I'd rather you be able to hear me well than not have rust. I mean, I guess I could work on my... What's it called? Noise canceling. Noise suppression.
Yeah.
I do have that. But I also don't want to, like, suppress my laughs because they're hilarious.
They are. I've drawn something from Disco Elysium by accident.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like the Disco Elysium style, doesn't it?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm stretching my back. Let's go. Chapter 4. First Journey. By the time the sun set and everyone started to head towards the cooking fires for dinner, Chase's arms were aching from the effort of shooting a bow for hours. They felt less like a part of him and more like useless things hanging from his shoulders. He was glad the day was over. The whole thing had been a lot to take in, and that training at the end was just made him exhausted physically as well as mentally. Just like the previous night, Chase lingered around the edge of the cooking fires instead of actually doing much mingling. It looked like almost all the phantoms were here, either getting food or doing the cooking themselves. Most had taken their masks off and had them at their hands or around their necks as they clambered in groups with each other. Chase, however, just waited for more people to clear up so he can feel comfortable getting food. He headed over towards the dragon's legs bones and that were in the area and sat down near the end on one of the smaller bones that could serve as a bench. Some time passed and more people arrived. Are you actually going to get something or just sit and stare? Chase yelped and twisted around to see Hendrik standing behind him. Oh, hello. He almost forgotten that Hendrik had said he'd meet him at dinner. How you doing? I am alright. Hendrik sat down next to him. I would ask you the same, but I think I could tell everything by the expression on your face. Do I look that bad? Chase groaned. No, not bad, just tired. Hendrik paused. Am I right? You're right. Chase rubbed his eyes. I'm sorry, I'm still just trying to understand everything. All this about medicine and magic and everything else. Having to prepare for combat, you know? I may be a hunter, but I've never fought a person. Unless you count getting into squabbles when I was a kid, and even then, it never came to blows. This music got really dramatic all of a sudden, and I'm like, I'm not sure this is the right ambiance.
This is the calm moment.
I think my family is watching baseball, and my brother just cheered. Like,
I heard
yeah.
I heard it, yeah.
Maybe I should do like a crackling fire ambiance.
I will say, eventually stuff will happen.
Yeah.
That sounds sort of ominous, but you know what I mean.
Oh, I know. There we go, that's fun. Wait, magma, there we go. Alright, oh, Henry looked away. Well, I should not have assisted you do everything at once, I'm sorry. I thought it would help you be part of the group, if you knew what you needed sooner, rather than instead of later. No, it's fine, it's not you. Chase hurried to say, it's the whole situation. I just need time. Right. Now it's loud.
I love just seeing your mouse occasionally fly across the magma.
Oh, right! Yeah! Because I'm not streaming anything for you. Oh my god, should I be streaming stuff for you?
No, it's fine. I like listening to your voice.
Okay. Yeah.
And I also have stuff to do with magma entertaining me.
No, it's fine. It's not you, Chase, sorry to say. It's the whole situation. I see time. Right. Hendrik hesitated, looking like he wanted to say more. But then he shook his head a little and said nothing. What? What is it? Chase asked. Never mind. If you're feeling overwhelmed, I don't want to add to it. No, please. If there's anything else, say it now. You're right. I'd rather have everything laid out at once. Hendrik sighed. Well, you see, now that you are all caught up, we usually have you choose where you want to fit in. We have these, here. His mask was hanging off his belt, and he reached down and picked it up. You notice the symbols on the forehead by now, yes? These tell everyone what you do. It's a helpful shortcut, since we all have different skills. Ah, Chase nods, recalling the different symbols he'd seen. There was this straight line with the curved lines wrapped around it. There was the straight line with the curved lines wrapped around it, the circle with 2 dots, the X's with 2 dots, and the card suits. There are 4, right? 5, actually, Hendrik corrected. You probably haven't seen the 5th up close. He turned around towards everyone gathered around the cooking fires. See, look over there. It's Onana's mask. And he gestured towards a nearby red-headed woman wearing a mask the shape of a floppy-eared dog. The symbol on her forehead was a 5-pointed star. Alright, 5, Chase nodded. What do they mean? The one I have here means medicine, Hendrik said, tapping his mask. Or otherwise, support. And they're also all birds, so we can be picked out easily in an emergency. Then the circle and the cross are for combat. Those are the types who go out and do missions. Why are there 2? Chase asked, raising an eyebrow. Hendrik shrugged. Different skill sets. I'm not sure on the specifics. That's Jackie's area of expertise. But circles are more direct, I believe, like warriors. Then the stars for organization, like things like records and messages, and the card symbols mean you are a magic wielder. And why use the car suits for magic? Chase pressed. To my knowledge, card games aren't magical. Well, we didn't choose that particular symbol, Hendrik said, and then quickly moved on.
Marvin.
I remember reading this initially, being so frustrated that there were so many hints laid to him, but he wasn't there. I'm like, where is he? Where is my son?
What? What did you do? Where are the other drugs going?
Where's my boy? He's in here somewhere. I can smell him. It's so funny because my VTuber is holding Marvin at this point too.
You're right. You're right. He is here somewhere.
He is here. I smell him right there. He's smelling cotton candy.
Aww.
I should have made
These
your
blur tools suck. Unrelated.
Not related. These blur tools suck.
They do. They keep leaving. They just leave the lines. They leave lines behind.
Yeah, that's not fun.
I'm trying to get a. Yeah.
Oh, but we didn't choose that particular symbol, Hendrik said, and then quickly moved on. Of course, you do not have to choose now. We can put this on the shelf, and you can think it over. Oh, but I should tell you now, you cannot have your own mask just yet, with your own chosen animal. You will have to use one of our extras until we get some plaster. That's fine. I don't know what animal I'd want to be anyway. Chase fell silent for a minute, watching the others gather around the fires. Someone had started playing an instrument, and the sound of strumming was soon joined in by a few people singing along. Many of them were missing the notes, but they made up for that with the joy in their voices. Yeah, I'll think about it. Henrik nodded and said nothing, joining him in watching the others. After a moment, he took a small flask out of his pouch and on his belt and drank. That can't hold that much ale, Chase said. You wouldn't get anything out of that. At that remark, Hendrik sputtered and almost choked before managing to swallow the mouthful of liquor he had just taken. It's not ale, he said, a voice a bit hoarse. I do not drink anything of that sort. Oh, sorry, Chase said, embarrassed. I was going to joke about having some, but, sounds like it's just water then? No. Hendrik capped the flask and put it back in the pouch. It's medicine, actually. You would not want any. Oh, Chase repeated. He could tell that Hendrik didn't want the issue pressed any further. And who would blame him, really? Something like that was fairly personal. You know, I was thinking, and I actually don't know that much about you, do I? I assure you, you know more than anyone else here, and than anyone here except Jackie, Hendrik said dryly. Most of the Phantoms know I am a doctor, but not that I travel. I don't just mean your occupation, I mean a lot more than that. Like, for example, how old are you? Do you have a family? Do you have any family? Are you courting anyone? Things like that. Hendrik started to smile a bit. I'm 29 years old. You're a year younger than me? Chase gasped. Hey, I don't look that old, do I? Hendrik nudged his shoulders. No, you don't really, I guess you seem it, Chase said slowly. You sound and act like you have a lot of experience. Well, thank you, Hendrik said, flattered. As for family, my parents still live in Elderday. I used to write them, but not anymore. Why? What happened?
Because they're jerks.
They're homophobes.
Among other things.
Yeah. Lots.
I love giving the boys bad parents. It makes them unique.
I'm just remembering that working on parents for the swaps is kind of the first time I've actually worked on parents for OCs in a while. Because usually I take them out of the picture somehow.
Yeah, same. It's just easier.
It's just easier. But thinking about the grandparents and stuff, or I was thinking Jackie and Zara's family, them having parents and everything, and sisters. It's been really fun to think about it. And Henny has such a big family, but they're all dead. They all didn't die tragically, though. It's just because 90 years in the future.
Anyway, this is a cool gradient. Look at this.
Yeah, you managed to make it work.
Yeah, I had to move it vertically.
Hey, what works.
Yeah.
Why? What happened?
Still not my favorite, but yeah.
Yeah. Henry pursed his lips. It is a long story. What about your family? Chase shook his head. Mom and Dad are gone. Have been for years now. I don't have any siblings. Stacy had a sister, but she went down to the flatlands to be a merchant, so really, it's only me, Stacia, and the kids. His heart was starting to sink the more he talked, so he quickly moved on. Can't help but notice you changed the subject just before you answered my question. And what was that? Henrik asked, clearly feigning ignorance. Oh, I see. A grin spread across Chase's face. So you're not actively courting anyone, but you're pining. Is that it? I don't know what you're talking about, Henrik said, not looking him in the eye. At that moment, someone approached the pair from the side, recognizable even from the distance because of that red cloak. I'm missing some context, but I can figure out what's going on here, Jackie said. Come on, Henrik, everyone knows. I thought Chase needed to be on the same page as everyone. I thought Chase needed to be on the same page with everyone, right? This is... Henrik stammered a little bit, then tried to change the subject again. What are you holding? Well, I saw you two being lonely out here on the edge, so I thought I'd bring you some food. Jackie was awkwardly holding 3 plates, 2 in one hand and 1 in the other. Here. He set 2 of the plates down on the bone next to each of them. I hope you like venison, Chase. Venison? It's called venison, right?
Yeah, venison is deer meat.
Yeah. Chase scoffed a bit. You remember you're talking
Which
to
is
a hunter,
ironic.
right? Yeah. I was raised
Ironic
on venison. Yeah. Super ironic. I was raised on venison. He picked up the nearby plate, noting the fork balance on top of the meat. Elders, you guys must have a lot of dishes. Oh, you have no idea, Jackie muttered. We rotate cooking and cleaning every week, so remember to check the chore notice by storage to see if it's your turn to watch them all. I'm already dreading it, Chase assured him. Also, I can't help but notice Henrik still hasn't answered my question about if he's courting anyone. Shush, Henrik said, his face slowly turning red. Jackie chuckled. Nothing official. He just happens to like a certain someone. But he's not at this camp, so Schneep's just been waiting. And I'm sure the moment he's reunited, he's going to run right up to him and confess all his feelings in a poetic Schwestern, verdammt, Jackie.
Sisters, damn it, basically.
Yeah. I think I got that pretty good.
You got that pretty good, yeah.
Henrik threw his fork at Jackie, who just laughed and let him hit him. Can you not do this? Jackie couldn't speak, he was too busy laughing. The best he could do was hand him his fork again. Well then, Chase mutters, I guess that's an answer. Henrik sighed. Do not tell anyone. I suppose everyone knows already, but please don't. I'm not sure if he'll feel the same. And I want to be sure before he finds out through rumors. Alright, Henrik.
He's scared.
Alright, Henrik, Chase said cheerfully, shrugging. I understand. Besides, I don't even know what you're referring to, so I couldn't even know who to talk about. Thank you. Henrik got out of breath and glared at Jackie. Ah, you love me. Jackie grinned. He pushed his wolf mask off and turned to Chase. And if you're going to ask me that question, the answer is no. I'm not courting anyone. Don't have my eye on anyone either. But I don't have a preference, so I'm sure I'll find someone eventually. Maybe once things are less busy. Good luck on that, then, Chase nodded. Jackie smiled wider. This is the first time Chase had seen him without the mask covering the full upper half of his face. There was a small scar next to his right eye, short but straight, probably caused by a blade. And he looked younger than Chase expected. Much like Henrik, he thought Jackie would be older than him, but he seemed to be the same age as him, if not younger. For a moment, Chase wondered how these two got mixed up in the whole rebellion situation. Were they affected by the king's action like he was? Or some other way? Or something else he couldn't come up with? And why were their masks the only ones that had color? Before he had asked any of these questions, Henrik decided that it was once again time to change the subject. Ah, Chase, I have been meaning to ask you. He cleared his throat. Would you like to learn to read better? Huh? It took Chase a moment to return to the present. Well, I guess it would be helpful to know more. Why, do you want to teach me? I don't know if I would be a good teacher, Henrik mumbled. Don't be ridiculous, you're pretty good at teaching me, Jackie said. And that was while you yourself were still learning the language. You know most of that wasn't me, it was... Henrik suddenly stopped, glanced at Chase, and abruptly moved on. There's more to teaching than just knowing the language. I know, and you're pretty good at it. I was going to say that we would find someone who would have more time on their hands. We are busy. Not as much now that you aren't traveling anymore. Besides, I think it would work best that you two work together. You already know each other. No! You know, what?
No!
No.
'Cause you keep repeating no.
Yeah. No! I got stuck for a second. You already sort of know each other, and you're getting along well. It'd just be more complicated to shove Chase with someone new. You already met enough people today. Henry tried to argue further, but Jackie just looked at him, his expression a strange mix of pleading and stubbornness. So Henrik just sighed and turned to Chase. Would you want me to teach you? After a moment, Chase nodded. Yeah, Jackie's right. We already know each other. It'd be the easiest. Henrik looked up at the sky. All right then. I will find some time. Sister's willing. Great! Jackie gave Henrik a quick one-armed hug. Now, you should actually eat the food I brought you. It'll get cold fast. And with that, he disappeared back into the rest of the crowd. Chase watched him go. He's something, isn't he? Henrik laughed quietly. You are right. Then he looked at Chase. So, is that it then? Reading, yeah. Chase paused. Maybe it's not too much trouble. Of course it's not. It's my schedule, that's the trouble. Henrik shook his head. Now, please, we should eat. They ate quietly, and afterwards, Chase went back to his tent. The moment he laid down, he was asleep, too tired to do anything else. Time passed. Days at first, and then weeks. Frost began to linger on the ground, and people started wearing 2 jackets or cloaks to block out the cold. Personally, Chase was content with just his 1 jacket and hat. Maybe he was more used to the cold than the other members of the masked phantoms. Or maybe he was just too busy to feel the chill. It took him a few days than expected to decide where he'd fit in. Obviously, he didn't have any magic, so he couldn't help with the magic-related tasks. And after thinking about it, he didn't really have the mind for medicine. There was just so much to remember. Not just about the medicine itself, but how the body worked, and he'd have to look after so many people. Sure, he might know a bit about simple injuries and common illnesses, but just the extent to which Henrik and Nemeth and the other doctors had to remember and learn. And he didn't think he was cut out for it. It was a similar case for the more administrative task. He'd never been really very organized, and it seemed like a good fit. And also, he can't read. That's a big one, Chase.
That's a big one. He's a bit distracted.
So instead, he turned his attention to his skills. He was a hunter, so on some level, combat made sense. It was also the one that involved the most action. Groups and individuals were frequently leaving and returning to camp, many of them wearing masks with the circles or crosses that indicated they were fighters. That was what Chase wanted. That's what Chase wanted to do. Direct action. But not too direct. He wasn't a warrior, after all, and Henrik had described the circles as being like warriors. Given the process of elimination, the result was obvious. But he figured that out quickly. The reason he hesitated to commit to that particular branch of the Phantoms was because of Lucas. Chase picked up that Lucas and Holly were in charge of the 2 combat-related branches, with Lucas leading the crosses and Holly leading the circles. And Lucas continued to show a deep mistrust of him that was honestly unnerving. He brought it up with Jackie and Henrik, but they each reassured him that Lucas would learn to get along with him. But that didn't seem like it seemed to be happening. In fact, Chase felt like Lucas was going out of his way to keep an eye on him. Every time Chase went out to the combat fields, Lucas was there, insisting that he should show off his bow skills. And sometimes, Chase even thought he could see the fox-masked man following him around camp. But the last part might just be paranoia and mistaken identity. After all, there were so many different animal masks at WyvernLair. Eventually, Chase realized he might be taking too long to decide, so he gritted his teeth and told Jackie about his choice the next time he saw him. Jackie was excited, as he usually seemed to be, and took him to his storage to pick up one of the spare masks. There were 3 spares marked with the cross, a wolf, a mouse, and a hedgehog. Chase didn't want to choose the same wolf theme as Jackie, so he went for the hedgehog. So he had always thought those were cute. Hedgehogs always make me think of Henny now.
Ah.
Cute little hedgehog. Though he was, I imagine why he picked hedgehog is more just like he couldn't decide between so many cute, adorable animals, so like the others chose for him.
Dude, you're this one, okay?
There's probably Dr. J being like, here, Henrik, try this one. I think this one suits you very well. And then Henry would be like, oh, it is adorable! Oh, I like it very much, thank you, Jewel.
I love Henny.
He's just so excitable about so many things. I love him. That's why him and Bro, I need to write him and Bro more, because they're just the most excitable of the group. And then Jackie, Dr. J, and Alt are more chill. Though Alt feels like he's kind of like in the middle. Cause he can be pretty excitable and stuff, but mostly he's chill.
Yeah, it's his own stuff that he's excited about.
True. And then Jackie would be more excited about stuff if he wasn't so goddamn tired all the time.
He needs to get some sleep.
That's why one of the first Swap Boy stories is called Jackie Gets Some Goddamn Sleep. Where was I? Yeah. Of course.
I'm gonna think of that every time now.
Of course, it turned out that his anticipation of difficulties with Lucas was entirely correct. He seemed a bit surprised to hear that Chase had decided to join the branch that he was in charge of, but he quickly got over that feeling and doubled down on his obvious distrust. Every day, he'd meet Chase at the combat fields and give him a target range to shoot at, over and over and over. And they got more difficult each day. He said he was trying to improve Chase's mediocre shooting ability, but Chase got the impression he wanted him to fail. On the bright side, once he got a mask of his own, even if it was only a spare, everyone else quickly accepted that he was part of the Phantoms. And once that happened, it was easy to get to know everyone. Nemeth was already familiar with him, so she stopped by every so often to check on him, and to insist that he keep his tent in order. Holly regularly intervened when Lucas started to go a bit too far in his archery practice, and every so often gave Chase short lessons in self-defense. Trip, the sorcerer, kept popping out of nowhere to strike up conversation about some random topic before disappearing. And of course, Jackie and Henrik were always around. Somehow, the fact that Chase was getting to know all these people seemed to upset Lucas, making him more suspicious. Though, there was something strange that Chase was noticing. As he became familiar with other Phantoms, he got the distinct impression that something was missing. He wasn't sure how else to describe it. When he talked to people, they'd sometimes start to say something, then change the subject. How they managed to find these dragon bones? Who came up with the idea for them to make the masked animals? Are there quite a lot of magic wielders in the group? Questions like that got glossed over, and soon Chase began to realize that there was an empty hole in the Phantoms that nobody wanted to talk about. An empty hole where a person might fit. That realization only made him more curious about whoever this was who was missing. But if nobody was giving him the answers to the small questions, he doubted if they'd say anything if he just bluntly asked about this person. But the thought just wouldn't go away. Maybe he could ask Henrik? He seemed the most likely to give him some sort of answer. Perhaps he could bring it up during one of their reading set lessons. Lessons were going too bad, really. Chase already knew a fair amount, so they weren't starting from scratch. He already knew how to put together sentences and could read most commonly used words, but oftentimes the lessons were short as Henrik got called away to do something or other really quickly. This meant that progress was still slow, even with Chase practicing on his own. Where he struggled most was the new words. He recognized everyone so far from speech, but his mind couldn't match up the spelling with the sounds. Mostly because they were, in his opinion, not spelled how they sounded at all. In one lesson, he threw the chalk he'd been using away and exclaimed, "Why do they combine these letters? It would be so much easier if they had one letter for each sound." "Oh, I do not disagree with you there," Henrik said, standing up to retrieve the chalk. They'd taken to holding the lessons on the edge of camp, where the trees of the forest once again started to appear. The chalk had hit one of the said trees, and Henrik found it quickly. He walked right over to a spot next to Chase, sat on the ground next to him, and handed him the chalk. Chase grumbled, and pressed the chalk hard into the board they were using. Copying the letters and words was easy, even if his handwriting was a bit crooked and looked like a ramshackle hut next to Henrik's solidly built houses of letters. Recognizing the words...
I'm so proud of that particular comparison.
Yeah, no, it was very good.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But recognizing the
Yeah.
words? Why don't they change this to make more sense? Henrik shrugged. Alphabets do not change automatically. It is something that happens slowly over time. From what I understand, the one that most nations use today is put together by combining symbols from many different places. Of course, many nations that are farther away use their own, and even some close by are stubborn to keep their own letters. We should have kept our own letters. Chase grumbled. Chase muttered. Henrik's frown, brows furthered. What do you mean? Nothing. It doesn't even make sense. I'm just frustrated. Honestly, Chase wondered if Gasul ever had a own alphabet. This single kingdom was once home to several different clans, each with their own customs. They probably each had an alphabet, and when the kingdom was united, decided it was too much trouble to pick one or combine them, so they brought in an alphabet from beyond the island. I see. Well, I think you're doing very well. Henrik looked up towards the sky. But unfortunately, I have to leave soon. Chase erased the words on the board with his jacket sleeve. Too bad. Henrik scoffed. Well, remember, you have to practice words with those combined letters. Yeah, I got it, Henrik. Ancient elders, you can be a stick in the ground sometimes. Despite Chase's tone, Henrik smiled briefly. Before I go, I have to tell you something. Or, I should ask you first. Are you ready to go on your first mission? Chase perked up. In the weeks he'd spent here, he hadn't gone on one mission to help the Phantoms. The timing was perfect. He was starting to get restless. Of course! What is it? What do I have to do? Nothing too risky. Not your first time. But recently we heard that there were unusual visitors in the surviving mountain villages. The ones more downhill, farther from the Great Woods. It may be nothing, but we should go see. Since you are familiar with the mountains, it seemed a good idea to ask you to go along. It's a group? That made sense. If they didn't want too much risk on the first mission, there would be safety in numbers. Who else is going? Jackie? Jackie's going? He could ask me himself. Henrik huffed. He was going to tell you, but he got sidetracked by business, and so he asked me to tell you since I would be seeing you first. Elin is also going. She is a sorcerer. And Kenneth, who is a doctor. 4 people. Chase nodded. Maybe you should come too. Round it up to 5 for good luck. Or for luck. I'm delighted you want my company, but well, must I really repeat my scheduling problems? Henrik sighed. Besides, if Jackie is gone, someone has to be here to make sure everything goes well. I assure you, Kenneth is a wonderful doctor. I'm sure. Chase nodded. Though he's a bit sad Henrik wouldn't be coming. He knew it would have been difficult. At least Jackie would be there. When are we leaving? Did Jackie tell you? 2 days from now, Henrik said. Oh, that's sooner than I expected, Chase admitted. You have to account for travel time, Henrik explained. I understand the village is 3 days from here, if you go straight. Possibly 4. He once again glanced up at the sky and stood up. Alright, I really must go now. Remember to practice. Yeah, I hear you. Be seeing you. Chase waved Henrik off and headed back towards the main body of WyvernLair, passing between the distant, but still large even this far away, bones of the dragons and disappearing from sight. 2 days, huh? Chase supposed that was enough time to prepare. Sighing, he stood up, grabbing the board and chalk. And maybe enough time to finally get the hang of some of these letter combinations. He might as well get started now. Once he left for this mission, it would be a few days before he could see Henrik again for another lesson. Wah!
Wah!
Water break.
Can you paint with all the colors of the wind?
Can you paint with all the colors?
With all the colors of the wind. Did you know that movie's apparently not good?
Yeah. I used to love it as a kid.
I used to love it too. I don't know. In retrospect, I don't know if I like paid that much attention to anything other than, ooh, pretty.
Yeah, true. I remember one of my favorite, first, Christmas ornaments I got was, Pocahontas and John Smith. And, I really like aspects of it, but also, the fact that Pocahontas learns English from a single touch is like, oh. They could have had a cute moment where John and her, like, are sitting down and actually, like, learning the language together. That would have been cute.
Yeah, very cute.
I don't know. I like it in some aspects, but I know a lot of people don't like it because it's very historically inaccurate.
Yeah.
I do know that I also hate Pocahontas 2. That one's even worse.
Ironic because all the online reviews I see on YouTube say it's better.
It's not, though! It's very much not. I hate it so much.
I didn't expect you to be so vehement
Oh my god.
it.
Okay, because, like, as a kid, you know, you fall in love with Pocahontas and John Smith because they're so sweet together. And I used to really, really, really love the song If I Never Knew You, which is like their love song. That was like, I think it was cut originally, but then added back eventually. Because I remember I saw it on TV once, like at a hotel, and I was like, oh, I've never seen this part before because it was like brand new or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Oh, If I Ever Knew You, it's such a sweet song. And I really love it. So, like, I've always loved Pocahontas and John. And then you get to the second movie, and it's like, oh, she's going to England, that's so much fun. But then they introduce John fucking Rolfe and say that fucking John Smith is dead. He's not dead. He's alive. I mean, he doesn't show up until the last end of the movie.
Historically accurate.
The romance is so fucking forced. And it's just like he shows up, he hates Pocahontas, and like he's soft with her and stuff, but not enough for them to fall in love. Like, I don't know, their connection was just never there for me, and it pissed me off so much, especially because John comes back and he's like, let's explore the world together! Like, what? Why wouldn't Pocahontas love that? Like, even if it's more historically accurate for her to stay in England, John! Have John stay in England for some reason.
I think the reason I didn't mind Pocahontas 2 was because I have no strong feelings about them.
I don't know. I've always felt that way. John Rolfe is such, and it's so funny because like I'm also one of those people that really likes to watch Disney edits where people like edit characters outside of their films together, and John Rolfe is usually like a really like nice animation character. I hate him in the movie. I mean, I don't hate him. He's a good person, and like the way that he like actually warms up to Pocahontas is really nice for her. It's really nice. I just don't think they should have been love interests.
That's totally valid.
Like they could have just been good friends, and then it's like John's back. Yay, he's alive. I loved him. Oh, especially because the ending is so bittersweet, where he has to go back to England because he's hurt. They love each other.
I know that like it's more historically accurate to have her fall in love with John Rolfe, but also
they just could have done it better.
From a storytelling perspective, that does sound kind of frustrating.
It's like
I know it's been forever since I've.
Because that's my thing. If you don't want her to fall in love with John, kill him off. Like that, you did that at the beginning of the movie. You could have just like not come back. Like that's what makes it messy. Like, then maybe I would like her and John Rolfe better, because it just felt like he was an obstacle in the end for them. In a way. I don't know, maybe they could have, like, maybe you could have shown more, like, time in between with them falling in love with each other. Because, like, I feel like in Colors of the Wind, like, there's a chance where Pocahontas, like, they're, like, doing like a montage of them, like, falling in love together, like, having this secret romance. Like, it's so sweet and, like, forbidden, and it's fun. And then like her and John Rolfe, it didn't feel fun. It felt like very obligated because he brought her to England, and now she's his responsibility, and of course she's gonna fall in love with her because she's a beautiful woman, beautiful exotic woman. Oh, of course I'll fall in love with her because now she's technically like my property in a way. It just felt it. I know that's not how he actually thinks, but like it felt very much like that kind of narrative of like, I've brought you here, now it's like almost my responsibility to fall in love with you because what else am I supposed to do? That's what history dictates. I gotta
checkerboard.
Like it felt like it felt forced because like that's what they had to do instead of like it being organic, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, they probably were like, man, we made her fall in love with the wrong person that the historical figure she was based on, like, didn't marry.
I mean,
we gotta correct that.
It's like if they were so worried about correcting that, why they made her like 19 when she was like 13, being abducted by all these men? Because that's the real tragedy of it. And that's what I try to forget, because like this Pocahontas is obviously not based on real life stuff, so like I kind of separate that, which is also like what also makes a friend story about her being with John Rolfe, because this Pocahontas isn't entirely accurate at all, so why make her fall in love with John Rolfe at all? You're not trying to actually show history here. There wasn't
I didn't realize I was striking a nerve.
I didn't know you were striking a nerve either. I'm like, there wasn't a moment where John Smith saved Pocahontas' life for Pocahontas saved John Smith's life in history. Why does it matter? Anyway, end of rant.
End of rant.
This is gonna be a highlight of Huffle's Pocahontas rant.
Hell yeah.
To end off the funny rant, though, I do remember this really slightly embarrassing not story, but like this moment. So one time when I was a kid, I think I was like 8-ish, my mom surprised us by getting me and my sister for Halloween like actual Disney store costumes of Disney characters. And she was like, I think Brenna was Jasmine and I was Mulan, because Mulan was one of my favorite movies.
Hell yeah.
But for some reason my kid ADHD brain went, oh wow, I want to be an Indian princess. And my sister was like, no, that's Pocahontas. You're gonna be Mulan. She's the Chinese one. And I was like, oh, wait, no, I'm super excited about that. I just always remember that. I was like, for a second, I thought Mulan was Pocahontas. And I remember specifically saying Indian because back then I didn't know that you're that specific.
Well, I don't think most kids knew because that's not what they were being taught. They changed that.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
That looks really cool. It reminds me of Van sneakers.
It does. Okay. I misaligned them.
Alrighty, back to big still.
Big.
It is a Nickelodeon theme song. Nickelodeon.
We're losing our minds. I think we gotta stop after this chapter.
Probably. I'm very tired. I had a venti coffee earlier that's starting to wear off. I was so bad with money today. So like, I knew I was getting paid today.
I was too, don't worry.
Some reason my paycheck didn't come till later. So the only thing I ate before I got home was a venti coffee, which kept me full for like a long time, till like 5, and I got it at like 11:30. And a single Starbucks sandwich. I probably should have brought snacks with me, but like honestly, that coffee lasted me a long time. But then by like 5, I had worked until 8. So like, the only thing that we have at the studio is a bowl of candy that is nearing the dregs. Like it's mostly Smarties at this point. It's Smarties and some Crybaby gum, and I took the last 3 Airheads. Because Airheads are my favorite. I will eat them all. Don't care if small children wanted them. They are not mine. And I was starving. I was so hungry. And when I went to order the Starbucks earlier, because I knew I wanted to come in early today, because I wanted to make sure I could meet my professor's students today, because they need that. If anyone needs lab time, it's these guys. So like I couldn't meet them last week because I came in too late, and none of them, like basically all of them, didn't show up. Or didn't, like, had to leave early or whatever. So I was like, I have to get there early, but if I need to be there early, I need coffee. I need it. I'm so tired. So I put in my order early, but for some reason, instead of just telling me that an item that I ordered wasn't available, it said that there was an error processing my order, and I stupidly was reloading my card for like, because like if you have like a gift card that you keep reloading, then you get like 2 times points for Starbucks stuff, which means eventually you'll get a free thing. So like,
Cool.
I was uploading it on there, and so I was like, I'm so glad I didn't pick 15, because I had like about $19 left, right? So I uploaded $10. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll have $9 later to get a snack later, because I knew I was gonna be hungry as I was at work later. But for some reason, it double charged me after I tried to. So I ended up uploading $20 onto my thing, and all of the money out of my PayPal, which was from a recent commission. And so it took like 48 cents from my regular banking account, and I had like $2 in there. So I was like, fuck! I don't have any more money to get snacks later. I have to wait till I get paid. And so I was like, at like 5 when I started getting hungry, I was like, Skeena, please remember that today is a payday, and I am very... I didn't tell her I was hungry, but please remember today's payday when you get a chance. Thank you. And I had to sit there and be like, I have Airheads and gum.
Man.
So that's what I ate. And the Smarties. The Smarties were better than I remember. And then I remember that I had mint gum, which helped me get to the rest of until I got home and scarf enchilada bubble up in my mouth. Anyway, that was stupidly how much I ate today. I don't remember how we got on this topic.
I don't either.
Oh, because we're going crazy, because I mentioned coffee, and then I mentioned talking about my coffee.
Yeah.
Yes. And I thought that was a funny story. Was it funny?
Was.
I don't know.
Kind of sad, because my girlfriend has no coffee or food.
Kind of sad that Huffle had $2 to her name for most of the day. But the good news is, chat, and VOD watchers and everyone listening, next week I get my first big check with my new job, and I'm so excited because hopefully it'll be like $400, which is more than I've earned in a long time. Oh, it's gonna be so nice to have money. Oh. Anyway, focusing.
Hell yeah.
2 days later, Chase met up with Jackie and the 2 others, and they set off before the morning frost started to melt. The journey itself wasn't too exciting, just a lot of traveling through the woods. The other 2 people on the mission, Elin and Kenneth, are a pair of siblings, wearing near identical ghost masks.
Kenneth?
Kenneth. Sorry, Kenneth. Kenneth. Elin and
Kenneth.
I guess I went Elin and Keelan.
Elin and Keelan. In the beginning.
In the beginning. Elin and Kenneth, a pair of siblings wearing near-identical ghost masks, weren't very talkative, so Jackie filled up most of the silence. The most surprising thing was the number of animals Chase was seeing. The area of woods around his town had been so empty, even for late fall. But as they moved farther from camp, he saw all kinds of woodland creatures, even a few deer. That was strange. Somehow, something that wasn't strange, but took some getting used to, was that everyone was carrying weapons. Chase was used to having a bow on his back and a quiver by his side, but it was strange to look at his companions and see them armed as well. Elin had a pair of daggers dangling from her belt, and Kenneth had a single broad-bladed sword that he carried on his back. Jackie had 2 swords, one on his back and one on his hip. Chase found that odd.
Jackie's patented 2-sword method.
Yeah. Chase found that odd, but he was sure Jackie knew what he was doing. Jackie had insisted Chase carry a knife as well as his bow, just in case. So one of the swords must have been a spare, just in case. Sure, that's what it was. But the journey passed surprisingly quickly, and the next thing Chase knew, 3 days had gone by, and Jackie was gathering the 3 of them to talk about their approach to the mountain village called Skytown. Alright. We're going to the circle around, so we're approaching from the east. That way it'll look like we just came from downhill instead of the forest. That won't be unusual. I understand this village gets a lot of visitors from further down. Everyone alright with that? Everyone nodded slowly. We would blend in more as visitors if we had horses, Elin muttered. The few times she's spoken up on the journey had all been talking about horses. Damn it, Elin. He aside.
Horse girl.
Medieval horse girl.
Just a girl in that era. Actually, no, because, like, they're car guys, so they were just, like, the equivalent of car guys.
or would those be carriage guys?
I don't think carriages are, like, that... It's not, like, that big a
Not
thing,
acceptable. It's not that accessible yet. Which, actually,
Yeah,
I was editing that in Modern Fantasy where we were talking about carriages, and Chase is like, I'm not sure how fast carriages are. I don't think I've ever rode in one.
I've never.
And JJ was like, yeah, you wouldn't have. Those are for nobility. And he's like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
You've probably ridden in carts before, Chase. It's not the same thing, though. Alright. Lock in! Lock in!
Lock in! Sorry, I was putting chapstick on.
Nah, we're going insane.
That's my going insane noise. Damn it, Elin. Ken aside. Do we have to talk about the unsuitable terrain again? No, I was just pointing it out. Elin paused. But I still don't understand why people bring horses up into the North Mountains, but not here. They're both mountains, and the not heavens are much rockier. It's not about rocks, it's about sudden ups and downs in the steepness of the slope. People can climb, horses can't. Alright, you two, break it off, Jackie said. Chase, are you on board with this? Chase nodded. Can I say something, though? What? Jackie asked. I think I should stay back. If you're planning to pretend to be visitors from the Flatlands, that is. Jackie tilted his head. Interesting. Why? Well, something I've noticed is that all of you from the Flatlands talk differently than me. Chase said. Not too much, but it's noticeable. See, just the fact that I called the rest of the kingdom the Flatlands would give away that I'm actually from the mountains. So if you're going to pretend to be visitors, I should stay back because I'd give it away. You could just not talk, Elin suggested. Chase considered that. I guess that could work, but it might be hard. Let's talk about it again when we're out of the forest, Jackie said. Come on, keep moving, everyone. We're almost there. By now, the colorful Fall autumn, I guess I wanted to say. The colorful autumn foliage of the trees had almost fallen off, making a carpet of brown leaves on the forest floor, and leaving the branches above bare in many places. And Chase had noticed that the trees were starting to spread out, less close together like they were deeper in the forest. Jackie was right. They were almost to the edge of the forest. Though the area itself was unfamiliar to Chase, it felt similar to home. While looking around these surroundings, he saw something move. He almost missed it on the very edge of his vision. Chase stopped, turning to look. Was that a deer? Chase, keep up! Jackie called. Sorry! Chase looked away for a moment, hurrying to catch up with the others. When he glanced back, the deer-shaped thing was gone. Ew, my nose. Soon, the trees thinned out, and the four of them stood on the edge of the forest, overlooking the mountain village Skytown. It was quite a lot bigger than Hilltown Chase called home. All the buildings were solid stone, large enough for at least 4 rooms, with thatched roofs that hadn't been present back in Hilltown. People still bustled around, but their clothes were a lot nicer, with less patches. Was this because Skytown was downhill, closer to the rest of the kingdom? Nothing was strange from up here, Kenneth said, shielding his eyes against the sun. What would these unusual people look like? The port said that they were dressed nicely, almost nobly, Jackie said, and there were at least one of them wearing the royal crest. Elin raised an eyebrow. I see. Alright, Chase. Jackie turned to look at him. Do you still want to stay behind? Chase hesitated, stalling for time. He once again looked around the forest's surroundings. Back home, the trees almost curved around Skytown, leaving only one side that was open. Here, it was just the opposite. Most of the area surrounding Skytown was open, covered in grass and rocks, and the forest was only to the west.
Did I say Skytown the first time? Did I say Skytown twice? Or
No, that was me.
Okay.
It felt a bit strange seeing all that wide, clear space. Idly, Chase looked over his shoulder and froze. There was a deer there.
Man who's never been outside a mountain forest.
Yeah. Some ways away, blending in the brown forest, mostly hidden by the trunks of trees, but his antlers, they drew his eyes. Gilded. Golden. and from there he noticed that the deer was looking right at him. His heart stopped. Chase? Is everything okay? Jackie asked, concerned. Yes. Chase turned back around. I think I'll stay here. I'll be the cavalry. If something happens, just send me a sign and I'll come running. Are you sure? Jackie
We
asked.
don't have a cavalry. Oh my god.
You don't want to get closer at least? No, this is the only place nearby with cover, Chase insisted. Jackie looked unsure, but he nodded. Alright, we'll send you a sign. Somehow. I can do that, Elin said, wiggling her fingers. We won't be long, though. Be on the lookout. Jackie turned to the others. Alright, masked off and hidden. We want to look normal. If there's an emergency, put them on first before anything else. The other two nodded, and he looked back at Chase. We'll be back soon. Chase nodded, taking a step back into the forest. Good luck. He watched as they hid their masks behind their cloaks and headed out, circling around the village, eventually shrinking into the distance. The moment they were gone, he turned back around. The deer was still there. In fact, it was closer. What was he supposed to do? Is this because I almost shot you that night? He finally asked, voice barely above a whisper. I didn't know it was you. Had I known, I never would take an aim. The deer's ear flicked. Its head moved side to side as if shaking no in response to his question. Then, what? What is it? Chase waited but didn't get another response. He blinked, and suddenly, the deer was even closer. If I've done something wrong to you, or any of the elders, I sincerely apologize, and I assure you it was done in ignorance, not malice. Another shake of the deer's head. He blinked again, and suddenly, it was right in front of him, close enough that he felt hot breath on his face. It was an unusually large deer. Most of the ones he encountered had their head reach his chest, not counting the antlers. But this, the deer's eyes were level with his, large and unfathomably dark. His head started to spin. The ground tilted beneath his feet, and he didn't fall. For a moment, everything was alive. The forest floor was breathing. The rocks were mumbling. The trees were staring at him. The sky above was filled with a foreign presence. The world was vast. It was living, and he could reach out and touch the soul of everything. Then the deer blinked, and Chase gasped, staggering backwards, losing his balance and landing hard on his back. Groaning, he sat up again. Wait a moment. Had the sun changed position? He could have sworn it was closer to the eastern horizon a few seconds ago. The difference wasn't large, but it was noticeable. Confused, he looked back at the deer. It blinked again, slowly. Then it looked away from him, towards something behind him. Its head moved up and down, like a nod. Chase turned around. There was a plume of smoke rising into the sky from the village. Chase gasped and scrambled to his feet. He glanced back over his shoulder, but the deer was gone. What had that all been about? No, this wasn't the time. If anything was a sign, that was it. He made sure that it was still at his bow and quiver with him. Of course he did, and pulled the hedgehog mask onto his face. Then, he ran. You gotta change to less, quiet music for a second.
Intensity intensifies.
Awkward pause when we get the music.
I've really lost the plot on these checkers.
Yeah, but
they're not lining up at all.
It's working.
Okay.
Just doing it.
Thank you, love.
Yeah, that's good ambience. I know, listen again for a second. The town wasn't quite in chaos yet, but it was getting close. The townsfolk were shouting and pointing. I forgot I need to pull up Magma so you can see. The townsfolk were shouting and
nothing
pointing.
Nothing interesting is happening.
But not fleeing in panic. He got more than a few baffled looks as he passed through, but he ignored them and headed towards the fire near the village center. And the closer he got, the more people he ran past who were in fact fleeing in panic. By the time he reached the center, the air was filled with smoke. He skidded to a halt, taking a moment to breathe through it. The center was taken up by a large square with a well in the middle. It was the buildings around the square that were on fire, their thatched roofs aflame, as well as the stone walls. Chase was taken aback with the familiar, strange sight, but then he turned his attention to the few people in the square. A fight had broken out, or more accurately, 3 separate fights, one for each of his masked companions. Nearer to him, Kenneth had pulled out his sword and was dueling with a man wearing a black tunic with a royal crest on the back. And it looked like this man considerably outmatched Kenneth in skill, because he kept forcing him to back up. Across the square, Jackie was also in a battle of swords, but his battle was quite different. It was very different. 3 people, 2 men and a woman, were attacking him, but he was easily holding his own, dancing around them in a whirl of scarlet cloak. And he was using both swords. Chase had never seen or heard anything like it, but the way Jackie was moving, you'd think he'd never been any other way to use a sword, other than in pairs. Okay, this is actually too common music. Intense. Medieval music.
Intense fantasy.
Fantasy music. Dun, 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 dun.
Like it. We should watch Lord of the Rings sometime.
We should. I haven't watched it. I mean, technically I watched the first movie, but I don't remember nothing.
The checkers have merged.
I need good... there we go. Okay. Alright, the strangest fight was happening in the middle of the square around the well. Strange because there were no weapons being used. Instead, this was a battle of magic. Elin and another woman were circling each other, with the well in the center. The strange woman had something in her hand, something glowing, and she pulled some of that glowing light away from the object and hurled it towards Elin. The moment the glow left her hands, it became a raging ball of fire, but Elin was expertly drawing water from the well in fluid streams, shaping it to shield her. She kept glancing back at the burning buildings, but when she tried to send water that way, the strange woman would throw another fireball that she had to deflect. Nobody had noticed Chase yet. Taking advantage of that fact, he quickly pulled an arrow from his quiver and nocked it in his bow. He got ready to loose the arrow, but hesitated. He never shot at a person before. At that moment, Elin glanced back at the fire again, and her shield of water wavered. The strange woman threw another fireball, hot enough to fly through the weak shield without disappearing. Elin screamed and it hit her shoulder, and Chase snapped into action, shooting his arrow towards the strange woman, and landed in her back, and she screamed as well. The man in the black tunic stopped his duel with Kenneth, spinning around. Oh god, I forgot how to say their last name.
Tenekroy.
Lady Tenekroy! He shouted. And the moment he was distracted, Kenneth turned and fled. He ran towards Elin, who had fallen to the ground, clutching her shoulder. The other 3 strangers attacking Jackie also stopped to turn, and in that moment, Jackie brought one of his swords down on one of the 2 men, wounding him in a slash of red. The other 2 cried out, and Chase knocked another arrow, shooting towards the other man. That arrow hit him in the leg, causing him to bend over, and Jackie hit him in the back of the head with the hilt of his other sword. He then turned quickly to block an attack from the woman, the last attacker. You. The single word was filled with venom, and Chase immediately knew it was directed at him. He turned to look. The strange woman, the one he'd shot in the back, was now leaning against the well for support. In that moment, Chase managed to take in a few details about her. Pale blonde hair. Pale blonde hair pulled back in a braid. Unnaturally bright blue eyes. Wearing a purple tunic and trousers that were embroidered with gold, looking very fine. In her hand, she held a silver brooch with a red gem in the center. And the gem started to glow. In a split second, the glow ran up the woman's arm and into her body. She glowed bright white and pointed her other hand at him. Chase immediately turned and leaped behind the nearest building. A bright white bolt hit the corner near where he'd just been standing, breaking off the stone, showering him pieces of broken wall. Shit! He shouted, covering his face just in time to block a fist-sized stone piece. We need to get out.
Curse word, hey!
We need to get out of here! Jackie yelled. Chase peeked around the broken corner at the sound of it. The man in the black tunic and the woman who'd been finding Jackie were now helping the other strange woman stand, supporting her. A similar situation was happening with his own companions. Jackie and Kenneth were helping Elin up as she weakly directed streams of water from the well into the buildings nearby, not fully putting them out, but making the flames smaller. Jackie saw Chase peeking around the corner. He pointed to the left. Chase nodded and ran, heading away from the burning. Townsfolk were also running, but they were heading towards the burning, many of them carrying buckets. Chase noted them briefly, scanning the area for Jackie and the others. He spotted them a few minutes later, heading towards the three of them, as Jackie and Kenneth carried Elin between them. The moment he was in earshot, he shouted, "What happened?" "Later," Jackie said, tilting his head towards the edge of town. "Oh, yes." Chase glanced back towards the blades, uncertain. The townfolk can handle that, right? They seemed prepared, but it wasn't that big of a fire, comparatively, but still, he felt uneasy as the four of them turned away. They reached the edge of the forest and kept going, and going. Once the town was out of sight and the trees were close together once again, they relaxed a bit. Kenneth started digging around his bag, pulling out a small bottle of salves. Ela sat by one of the trees, wincing at the burn that covered most of her shoulder. Jackie seized the sword he still had out and breathed a sigh of relief. That was bad. What was that all about? Chase asked once again. You were in town for a minute and suddenly there was fire. Jackie gave him an odd look. We weren't there for much longer than 1 minute. Really? It hadn't seemed like it. Well, still, what happened? Jackie's expression darkened. They knew we were coming. I'm not sure how, but they did. Maybe they saw some of our scouts a while ago? Either way, we went into town and started searching. We looked over the whole place for a couple times, but didn't go anywhere else. Inside anywhere. Then out of nowhere, they burst out of one of the houses and attacked us. That wizard started throwing fire everywhere. It was a disaster. The music got too intense again.
It's over now.
You missed it. Yeah, that's fine. This is a good playlist for me to just kind of click around and pick intensities if I knew it better. But it has a lot of different different like intensity stuff.
Hell yeah, that's good.
Wizard, huh? Chase whistled. Wow. Who was she? They called her Lady Tenecroy.
Yep.
Tenecroy. Chase muttered, bitterness lining his expression and voice.
Right.
Well, yes, so she's a noble. That's not surprising. The king has many of them in his pockets, Jackie sighed. Thank the elders you decided to stay in the forest. Thought it might have been boring. Might have gotten boring me out there for I don't need choirs of people in the background, please. Thank you. When choir stood up, you know it's too intense. That's not surprising. The king has many of them in his pockets. Argy sighed. I think the elders decided to stay in the forest. Though it must have gotten boring being out there for that long by yourself. No, it wasn't. Not really, she said uncertainly. To be honest, I lost track of time. How long were you in town? Not sure. An hour, maybe? That didn't make sense. Chase could have sworn he had only been waiting for a minute. But in that minute, the deer had done something strange to him. Was it possible that more time had passed and he just didn't realize? Well, thank the elders. Quite literally, perhaps. Jackie nodded. We should start heading back now. I think Elin is stable now. But we should get her back to WyvernLair quickly, just in case. Yeah, let's go. As they headed back, Chase remained quiet, thinking of his encounter with the deer. That was the second time he'd seen it, and the first time that'd been that night Hilltown burned. What did that deer want? What was its goal? He stayed silent for the entirety of the 3-day journey back to camp. God. I know we're tired. And we should stop here, but I read the title of the chapter. I'm like, Marvin! They're talking about Marvin.
Marvin! They're talking about Marvin!
They're Marvin, my love.
My boy!
My boy. I'll have to be for next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can read more tomorrow if we're not streaming. I don't know what we're gonna do tomorrow. I assume my fandom are gonna be there.
Yeah, me neither.
I should message everybody, but it might be too late.
Mm.
But, VOD watchers,
You can just
lovely
have it-
people listening in the past and the present, thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed the
Yay.
story today. And we'll see you next week for more Fanfic Friday. Bye!
We'll see you. Bye!